He's working on welcoming. Next time.
We are recording.
Okay, good.
Well, welcome everybody to the first virtual leadership development seminar, formerly known as President-elect training. I hope most of you are here for President-elect training. I see so many of you that are already president, and it'll be great so you learn what's happening in the district. But I'm hoping that you also have people that are going to be president for 21, 22. We really need that that synergy. So this should be a really exciting time for the virtual event. You know, you're going to be all going into different, we're all going to have separate sections to learn about leading your club. And you're going to have a lot of different conversations that you probably didn't have before in previous leadership development seminars. So I thank Norma, our district trainer, and Janet, certainly your district governor, for putting this together this morning, and for Tom Brown, our public image coordinator, for hosting. I hope you'll enjoy this. You know, this is the first time we're doing it on Zoom, so feel free to. You can get up and move around. This is one of the positives. You know, when I go to all of your clubs, I say, there's opportunities and challenges. We are opening opportunities in Rotary, and one of them is to have virtual training where you don't have to sit in the room all day long. You're going to be able to get up, get your coffee, go outside. I was outside earlier, sitting with my dogs and having a cup of coffee. And it's just so beautiful outside. So take advantage of that. Feel free to get out and stretch. But please feel free to participate and ask questions. And I look forward to meeting with you in my section of the agenda. So with that, I go to your district governor-elect, Janet Tenreiro.
Good morning. Welcome to the first of your training sessions for your year as governor, or sorry, for your year as president. That would be me as governor. We have a lot of ground to cover this morning, so I'm just going to cover a few Zoom etiquette suggestions. Please mute yourselves while the presenters are speaking. We will mute you if you don't do it yourselves. If you have a question while someone is speaking, use the chat box to type it in. The chat box is located at the bottom of your screen. Just click on chat and it will allow you to type your questions. If that doesn't work for you, there's a box that will allow you to raise your hand, like not by in person, but there's an actual a button that will let you raise your hand. And unmute yourself so you can be heard when you're called on. Questions should be held until the question and answer section at the end of each presentation. As you know, this session is being recorded, so just be aware of that. Don't take your, don't take clothes off or anything like that. There will be a few short breaks during the morning. They'll be 5 minutes long. If you have your agenda, you can just refer to it. But we'll announce them as they occur. There is a document called Leading Your Club that is available on the RI website that I will send you a link for after this. It'll probably be on Monday, because normally you would get a hard copy of this if we were meeting live, but RI's website is down today, so I can't send you that link today. But as soon as as soon as it's available, I'll get it out to you. Now on to Norma with few words from her. Norma, you're muted.
Okay, welcome and thank you. Thank you, Janet. I would like to thank and congratulate all of you for your dedication to coming to today's session. It's a beautiful day out there, but your presence tells me that you are dedicated, you are committed to making your year even better than ever because of your training. As Janet said, this is your first of a series. However, there was another pre-training that we have given you an opportunity, and in July, DGE Janet sent you an email and encouraged you to go to RI website and register in the Learning Center and get into the Club President Basics. And I hope that you went there and learned something. But I would really like to recognize those people who went and registered and finished the plan. And I will take this opportunity to really recognize them, because to me, that is an indication of their dedication. And they also have time. So I'm hoping that all the other 60 others would go. So here are the names. I would love to recognize them with 100% completion of the class. And I promise this when we sent this email that we will recognize you. Brenda Herman from Greece, please raise your hand. There you go. Thank you for going. Stephanie Hessler from Geneva. Hi, Stephanie. Finally, I have a face to a name. That's wonderful. Christina Owens from Russ Henrietta. Robert Sloan from Pelmac. Aida Veras from Rochester Latino. I saw her earlier. And Vicky Varhauer from Caledonia Mumford. These are the 100% completion. Then we have two of the 91%, Melissa Correa from Newark and PDG John Hall. I think this is his second term as a president at a 90. Then David Irwin from Pittsford is almost there as well. We have others who have registered. They're in progress, like Stacy Wyatt of Penyan, Ralph Squire from Gates Chili, Wendy Friedman Colson from Seneca Falls, Amy Gowdy from Wellsville. I'm so pleased to inform you guys that 50% of you already have gone to this, and encourage everyone to go there and just see what it has to offer. There are very good topics. So that's your pre-training. As Janice said, this is your first formal official training. So at this time, I would like to, let's see, just review again the topics that we have. And as I do that, I would really be honored and pleased to introduce our very knowledgeable, experienced presenters. For your topic number 1 at 9:15, we have Leading Your Club. And that has 2 presenters, with past District Governor John Hall and past District Governor Chuck Turner. May I have the hands of these presenters, if I may? Thank you. Second topic is strategic planning. We have Bruce Amey of Avon. Thanks, Bruce. Followed by immediate past District Governor Dave Hannan. Topic number 3 is thanks, Dave. I didn't see you there at a minute. Topic number 3 is club administration. Our district governor nominee, Ralph Brandt, will be your presenter. Topic number 4 are the committees. The relevant, practical committees that your club would consider having them. Our very own current district governor, Linda Kohl. And 5th is for our district governor-elect, creating a vibrant club, and perhaps the closing remarks after that. So, any questions on your topics? I don't have to review those I have in my notes. I have to review the Zoom instructions. Janet already mentioned them to you, so I'm open for questions if there are any.
Remember, you can type those in, or if you need to ask a question when someone's asking, press your space bar, and that will allow you to unmute yourself.
We encourage participation. So if your presenter asks for your comments, please unmute yourself, raise your hand and unmute yourself. We still have opportunities for exchanging ideas. It's not just the presenters talking, lecturing to you. We'll still have some time for, and I highly encourage that, to please participate, okay? Share what you have in mind, or if you have something to share, and the presenters will call upon you, but please remember to unmute yourself. just like I didn't remember to unmute myself earlier. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Janet, anything, other instructions? Tom? There being none, Past District Governor John Hall, please take it away.
Well, good morning,
sorry.
everyone. Can you hear
Sorry,
me? I'm trying to
Janet.
work.
Janet raised her hand, but she's muted. There
Sorry,
you go.
I forgot I muted myself. I just want to,
know.
I want to acknowledge that Mike Schiller from Canandaigua also completed the training.
Oh, I didn't have that. Sorry, thank
He
you.
had a problem with his RI registration, so we got that fixed.
Okay, because this was from a report that I received this past Monday. So
Yeah.
if you completed after Monday, then
He completed
I
it before, but as I said, he had a problem with his RI membership being.
I will add his name.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, John.
That's all right, Janet. Can everybody hear me? I'm working through this headset. Okay, good. Thank you. I see a lot of familiar faces out there. As in my travels and some of the past presidents doing the presidency all over again, as I am. I stepped up to take over the club next year and work through some succession plans. But usually work through, excuse me, get this a bit. Sounds like an echo in me. I'm going to do something here just a second. I apologize. Can everybody hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Let me turn up the volume. Thank you. Usually doing these leadership sessions, do it through RLI and we as a facilitator. So this is going to be something different for me also. But in the agenda that was handed out on this session was the talking points was gave some things that we should discuss on types of leaders, and we'll talk about how they, which would be the best working for each club. But I'm going to be reading a few things here. Effective leadership is the hallmark of a successful organization. There are many styles and types of leadership, such as critical leadership, consultation leadership, and participative leadership. The first one we're going to be talking about is the precipitative. Yeah, that's hard to say. Precipitative leadership. So, does anybody have an idea of? You can raise your hand or type it in the chat. I'm looking down at the bottom and seeing what is a participative leader do? I don't see anything.
Involved. Steve Fleischman says involved.
Get involved. Okay. How about some others? Ken, can you unmute yourself? I think Tom said you could hit the space bar. There you go.
Okay, there we are. Yeah, I guess I see it more do as I say, not as I do.
Okay.
Scott Rasmussen says getting others involved.
All right, that's great. Yes.
Bob Sloan says doesn't ask anything of others he isn't ready to do himself.
All right.
Bill Mickle, I'm sorry again. They do the projects with everyone in the club. Brenda Herman, boots on the ground, leading action by example. David Irwin, collaborative. Wendy Friedman, everyone works together to get the work done.
Oh, those are a lot of good. Looks like
Still a member, even as a leader, from Patty.
all right. See that? Well, thank you. As we'll continue on here, but excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat here. There's 6 signs of a participative leader, and the first one is they discuss things as a group. There's usually a leader who overcomes and oversees the process. Second one is they provide information. The leader shares all pertinent information for making a decision for the whole group or with the whole group. They share ideas. which I think is important. The group shares ideas about how to solve a problem. The fourth is process ideas and information. The leader summarizes the information and ideas for the group. The fifth one is they make a decision. The group makes the best decision based upon the information and the ideas for the group. And the sixth one is they implement that decision. How many clubs operate that way? You just raise your hand or, all right, I see Belmont and Wendy and Seneca Falls. Okay, I see people all around. There's Karen from Naples and Ralph. Hi, Ralph, how you doing? Now, the types of participative leadership, there's 4 types. And, excuse me, they are the consensus participative leader. The second one is collective participative leadership. The third is the democratic participative leadership. I didn't realize this until I started researching all these different ones. The autocratic participative leadership. And this one surprised me. The autocratic leader is similar to the democratic leader, but the leader holds even more power. There's less precedence put into the ideas of the group and more on the leader. What are some advantages? Excuse me. What are some of the advantages of this type of leadership? Any ideas? Any comments? Oh, there's a lot of comments down at the bottom. Anybody raise their hand?
Haven't seen
No?
anything.
Okay.
Haven't seen anything.
I can only see half the people.
That, yeah, you'll have to, if you move your mouse up at the top, you'll see there's an arrow that says 1/2.
Yep. Well, I can switch over. I was
You
just,
can switch over and back.
yeah,
So,
okay.
But I'll still read these to you. That way other people that aren't reading chats can still hear the examples. Let's see. Members feel ownership in decisions. Some people need to be led. More willing to get buy-in. Shared ownership. Michael Schiller says of which type of leadership. And my throw in is if you are an autocratic leader, less chance of committees just discussing and never ever implementing.
All right.
Cindy DuPoy says more ideas from more people.
That's good. Thank you very much, everybody. The some of them that are listed is are the staff buy-in. So that means your committees all buy in on what's going on. It boosts morale in the club. The provides collective thinking so that everybody has some input into it. It provides retention because everybody feels like they're part of the organization. Do you think there are any disadvantages to a participative leader or leadership style?
Too many opinions.
I'm sorry, Janet?
I said too many opinions.
Too many opinions, okay.
Stephanie says,
Yeah, there's a participant leadership can lead to further club member something. I lost it.
engagement.
Engagement, okay.
And Maggie Barnes says hard to get people to act sometimes. Scott says takes longer for decision. Stephanie, instead of only a handful of people involved. Mike Schiller, analysis paralysis.
Okay, good. This type of leadership can be slow, and there's a lot of social pressure on people making sure that they get involved. And due to the amount of time that it takes sometimes with being slow is that there's a higher cost, at least in a business organization. It can be inefficient, and this can be types of or periods of indecision. All right, moving on to the next one is situational leadership. And the definition of this is when a leader adjusts the type of leadership to best suit the particular situation on task. So have to excuse me here. The style of leadership is not dependent upon the skills of the leader, rather based on the leader's ability to adjust to the requirements of the team or organization in order to be better and more effective. How about some examples of situational leadership? Anybody?
Lydia says COVID.
COVID, oh yes. We've all seen a lot of that this year. I was playing golf with a guy yesterday who said that what we should do is just stop Rotary for a year. And I said, I didn't think that was a good idea.
Stephanie asks, could you repeat your description?
Sure. It's a style of leadership not dependent on the skills of the leader. Rather, it is based on the leader's ability to adjust to the requirements of the team or organization in order to better and more effective, to be a more effective leader. So what you're doing is you're trying to adapt to whatever the current situation is. And as somebody said, COVID, how our clubs are all either going strictly via Zoom, some not meeting, or others doing hybrids, which our club is doing. We have probably about 22 people show up for a meeting, and we have about the same number on Zoom. So it's rather interesting to do that. But it's nice to see people back face to face again.
We have a couple of comments about that. When an immediate decision needs to be made, and when the leader looks more like a partner than a boss.
Okay, very good. Well, this study said that a situational leader may be one of the following leaders. They use one of the following leadership behavioral styles depending upon the situation. One is telling. That style is when requires close supervision and constant guidance. Selling, this type of leadership is typically used when a team or organization is unmotivated to perform the task of the job duty. Participating behavior leader style is most commonly used when the team is competent in particular tasks, but do not have the willingness or confidence needed to complete the task. And delegating. So no particular style is considered to be the best for a leader. Rather, the leader using a situational style of leadership will use whichever style is best suited for the situation. So what do situational leaders do? Well, they provide direction, flexibility, encourage participation, delegation, regular coaching, and honesty. The true situational leader is able to successfully access their team and implement various leadership styles to meet the needs of the team in each situation. So again, what are some advantages of situational leadership? Any suggestions?
Best leaders delegate.
Okay.
Adaptability. When projects are in progress, discuss and deal with this and then run rest of the agenda.
Hey, that's good.
More nimble and able to adjust.
Can a leader move from different leadership styles? I mean, on our agenda, somewhere on my desk, is listed 2, 3, 6 different types of leadership styles. 5 different types of leadership styles.
Going back to situational, can be more collaborative, but allows for being able to step in and make a quick decision, and flexibility.
Okay. Some of the advantages that they list in this article that I was using, leaders are able to use whichever leadership style they believe is best for the given situation.
Exactly, and that's 2 comments that just came up.
Okay.
I think good leaders draw on skills in each type.
All right. The situational leadership style can be more comfortable for good leaders who know how to use it. This type of leadership style is fairly simple, as all that is needed is the ability to assess the situation and adjust to it. And finally, situational leaders can create more comfortable environment for the employees as the members, as the leadership style implemented will typically match their needs. How about some disadvantages?
Yeah.
Well, some of the disadvantages can be situational leaders can cause confusion with their organization, as the
That's where your mom would
leader may
keep it
constantly
down, and that's
change
when
their
it got full
approach
screen.
to address each team or individual need. Situational leaders tend to only focus on short-term goals, and as a result, may overlook long-term goals. They also do not work well with repetitive tasks needed to be completed. And they also depend on leaders' ability to judge the employees' maturity level. Whoop, I lost my crew.
We have a couple of comments. Unpredictable response. Long-range planning may be limited. Sometimes hard on members.
Tom, somehow or another, I lost everybody. I could see me.
We can see you. Oh, you
Okay,
hit
I
your,
can see me, but I can't see everybody else.
you hit your speaker view. So go back and upper right-hand corner, you'll see gallery.
Okay, I got my gallery view. I don't know. I got it. I'm in good shape now. All right, the third form that is listed in the agenda is transactional leaders. And this is something I didn't know anything about until I got this the sheet from Norma and started researching it. But transactional leadership is a managerial style that promotes compliance and attaining goals through supervision, organization, and the system of rewards and punishments. That's something I think we can use in Rotary. This results-oriented approach to management works well with organizations and motivates self-motivated members. It's a little bit difficult for consider it being in a Rotary Club that you have a system of punishments. Rewards, yes, but punishments, no. But has anybody ever used in any business or nonprofit organization leadership, a transactional leadership style? Yes.
John, you
Well,
have
some of the-
5 minutes.
I'm sorry,
You have 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
No, he hasn't. He has, I have him till 9:55.
Oh, good job. Okay, sorry.
What's that?
You can go until 9:55. You have.
Oh,
45
okay.
minutes.
That's a long time. But some of the characteristics of a transactional leadership is it's hierarchical, so that the structure or culture is high on the list of importance to transactional leadership. They micromanage. We've all been in organizations, either work or wherever, where somebody micromanages everything you do, or they do a hands-off type of leadership style. They're practical. They motivate by self-interest, and they're reactionary. So it's really sort of a multitude of things that can occur through this type of leadership style. Is there any advantages to a transactional leadership? I'm just reading one of the from Barbara.
They revel in efficiency, can be positive to use if the club or organization is off track from their procedures and goals.
All right, that's good. Thank you, Barbara.
Rewards and bonus programs. And sometimes hard on members.
saw one of the clubs, Norma's trying to punish me.
That's Patty.
I didn't want to identify the person. Well, some of the advantages are it's goal achievement. They facilitate the achievement of goals. Most often, organizations with that type of leadership have short-term goals in mind, which are often more feasible and realistic than long-term goals. It's motivational. I think it's probably more based upon the punishment end that they're motivating. They have a clearly defined structure and roles. They're efficient, or their effectiveness is well established with the organization. And finally, a measuring stick for success. So they do have an opportunity to measure how the process is going along. The disadvantages.
Which kind of leadership we were talking
We're
about?
still working on transactional.
Okay.
So some of the disadvantages are it's a focus on short-term goals rather than the long-term effect. It stifles innovation and creativity. So because of the rigid structure, it's ineffective. It's ineffectiveness of the reward system based upon all punishment. Costly mistakes, lack of motivation. Not every, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, there's comments in the chat, produce results, but they're often one-off wins. One club had a president who members were afraid of.
Who?
Huh?
I said who?
We won't discuss that. People feel pressured. People don't respond well to punishment.
But the punishment typically makes people leave the Rotary Club.
Exactly.
There's turmoil. There's turmoil among the members, which would that just sound like that, and an over reliance on the leader rather than the organization.
It's not a good way to improve relationships with new or even older members.
Right. Thank you for the participants. The next form that was listed was transformational leadership. And transformational leadership is an approach in which the leader inspires and motivates team members to create positive changes within the organization. This leadership style can increase group morale, lead to rapid innovation, improve conflict resolution, decrease turnover, and foster the sense of ownership among the team. So can anybody have any examples of transformational leadership?
Keeping an eye on the chat box. Haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, well, some of the examples listed are provides encouragement, sets clear goals, excuse me, provides recognition and support, models firmness and integrity, provokes positive emotions in others, and inspires people to achieve their goals. So this is sort of the complete opposite of the transactional leadership style.
Here we've got a couple of comments now. They are able to treat their members as individuals and regard their members as equals who have a unique set of skills and experience and are great coaches. Innovative.
Very good, thank you. Well, when you compare it to from the transformational to transactional, leadership is often, the two styles are often confused. It's important to differentiate between these two very different leadership styles. Transactional leaders focus on compliance through and withholding and providing the benefits of and rewards. Transactional and excuse me. Got a little frog here. Transactional and transformational leaders differ in that transformational leaders focus on intellectual stimulation idealized influence, inspirational motivation, and individual considerations.
A comment in the chat says they are visionaries who can see beyond their term of leadership. I like that.
See, that got a Scott thumbs up from Scott. So you lead with an inspired vision. So this vision should outline the purpose of the organization as it is relevant to its business and to its mission as a whole. So it's good leadership style for a Rotary club, some Rotary clubs. It motivates the team. It focuses on the big picture. So some of the characteristics are you should be willing to do whatever it is required of your team. So the leader should be there all the time. Any advantages of the transformational leadership style as compared to, let's say the transactional leadership style? Additional.
These leaders strategize and set long-term goals. And someone would like to know your source for this information.
My source?
Yes.
What I can do is I'll send that. I can send that to Norma to send out, so you can access it. It was a series of papers that was done just in September, and listing all the styles that Norma had listed on the agenda. So it was a good article.
Let's see. We got long-term goals. Members don't feel alienated by reward punishment. Works well with strategic planning.
All right, those are good. Thank you. Well, let's move on. Oh, I'm sorry.
Encourages member participation.
That's right. No, that's I think that's a good one. That people get involved in. They're working towards a common goal. The second last.
No, last.
I'm sorry.
I'm saying the last type of.
No, this is the last one. The servant leadership style. Servant leadership is a management style in which you lead by putting the needs of your team first. Servant leaders believe that when their team members feel personally and professionally fulfilled, they produce higher quality of work, more efficiency, and productivity. You can use this leadership style in any type of business or organization, but is particularly popular within nonprofit organizations. So, what are some examples of or characteristics of a servant leader?
Encourages members' participation, gets hands dirty, hands on. Servant leaders first serve their employees / members, then their customers, then the stakeholders. They embody cura personalis, or caring for the whole person. Father Wilde at Marquette was a great example of this style. Humility. They don't lead from above, they lead from within.
All right, some of the characteristics listed in the article were they motivate their team. They have excellent communication skills, transparency, active listening.
I have good listener. They empower, facilitate action, always acknowledges others' contributions. Service that requires self-sacrifice is very visible and can inspire others.
Very good. Thank you, Stacy. As I said, that was mentioned in one of the chats, that they care about their team on a personal level. They're committed to help their team develop. What a way to get succession plan in your club. It encourages collaboration and engagement. Servant leaders value the opinions of everyone on their team and encourage them to share their opinions and to actively contribute to the team regularly. How do you become a servant leader? Well, some of the examples are you lead by example. You show people why their job is important or why their project is important. Encourage collaboration and employee engagement. You care about your team members personally and ask for feedback.
And I have set aside your ego and you're born that way.
Huh. So I know that one of the things in Rotary Leadership Institute, the question was, can a leader be trained or are they born that way? So it's a topic of discussion. Which of these 5 leadership styles do you think is best for your Rotary Club or a Rotary Club or your Rotary Club?
I'm in favor of servant leadership. So is Christina Owens.
Well, as president-elects, or many of us are president-elects, how do you, I like the hybrid. Okay.
Servant or transformational, a combo of servant and transformational.
Okay.
So we got a couple of choices here. I like participatory, but sometimes an autocratic president is necessary. Servant by far for me.
I thank everybody for continuing to comment here. Okay. Oop, it's going
Wow,
fast.
they're going fast. Second combo of servant and transformational, and also participatory combines, but occasional situational. Servant leadership is leading with generosity. Servant and situational. Servant and transformational. All over the board.
Well, this looks like, excuse me, servant is definitely the leading candidate for being the mode that our president-elects will use next year.
Autocratic is needed, not preferred. Remember our motto, service above self. Service above self. Servant and transformational for me. I think drawing on strengths of each would be helpful. A solid base of servant with the ability to adapt to other styles as needed. Very nice.
You know, this is it's interesting. I like this that you know that people are taking a look at what hopefully what next year will bring to their club. Which one do you think that will really motivate your club the most in order to attract new members to your club and to keep the current members engaged? And using a servant leadership.
No one is born a leader, although everyone has a default leadership style. Good leaders are aware of their default style and adopt a style that fits the needs, expectations, and goals of the group. You went away.
Yeah, I did. I jumped for a minute.
Okay.
I heard my wife in the kitchen ask her to bring me a glass of water, please. I didn't want to get up and leave right now.
You have 10 minutes.
Okay. One of the questions is, thank you, was on the agenda was the difference between men and women leaders or women and men leaders. Are there a difference or is there a difference? Are there any differences between female and male leaders?
I almost think that the differences are, that there are differences, but they're spawned by the makeup of your club. And
So
how-
if you're a 50-50 club one or an 80-20 or something.
Or
right?
an older, old boys club.
Okay. Well, it's a difficult one to address, but there actually there's an article on that I dug up, and it says female leaders tend to be more inclusive and community driven. Well, male leaders are not typically. So people who are accustomed to the masculine dictatorial style may see women leaders as too soft or weak and think that men are better suited than leaders. In reality, nothing could be further from the truth. And as we've all found, especially in Rotary, that and now in all our organizations and companies, but I'm sorry, a team works seamlessly together, and many different perspectives enrich and problem-solving process. Women leaders have a variety of techniques for getting people on board, from using inspiring words to showing how their plans will benefit the bottom line. So
We have
see
some
there's
comments
more.
in the chat box. Women tend to be more relational. Yes, that more than the gender makeup, I think. Remember, we are all volunteers. Depends on the style. Having diversity in your club only enhances and strengthens your club. Amen to that.
I agree. I think our organization and many organizations would not be where they're at without female leaders. And so I think it's Rotary has benefited well from the court decision 20 some years ago, 30 some, almost 30.
86, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that permitting women to join the organization. And we're going to see that in 2 years when Jennifer Jones becomes the president of our club, of our organization. She was one of my classmates, and I've done some work with her on different zone institutes and GETS programs.
One more comment. I don't think it is women versus men, rather personality types. I've had a strong woman president who alienated a lot of members. We have seen in the last few years that more of the women in our club do more than the men.
Well, I think in our club, it's sort of different projects that each gender gets involved in. It's really good back. So women saved Rotary.
Probably true.
That's probably true.
5 minutes.
Yeah. Excuse me. What another section is what motivates members for the opportunity to make a difference in our community? What do we have to do to get members engaged? What does a leader have to do to get members engaged? We have there's some listing here on the agenda that was sent out, or on this section, but you have members in your club that are sit on their hands, some that have their hands raised for wherever. How do you get more people in your club to get their hands raised rather than sitting on their hands?
Okay, provide opportunity for service, positive attitudes and a lot of energy, fellowship. Members should feel needed. Interesting dialogue. Thank you for adding in the topic. Get them to have some ownership of a favored project. Communicate. Listen to your members. We all know that the same people always step up, and that is fine, but we need to be sure that others are asked. Listen and be sure they feel valued. We have to show them that their efforts make a difference in helping the community. Listen. More meaningful and manageable opportunities. Make it personal to the members. Find organizations that are close to their hearts. Encourage. Good speaker list to get the members to want to come to meetings. Ask. Know your members and what their interests, passions, and interests are. Lots of comments.
Lots of comments. Good. Thank you very much. You know, the one was good speaker list. I think that's important for any club to have good programs, and not only good programs during the week, but the whole aspect of your club is a good program. And I always use the analogy, when the Buffalo Bills were winning, the stadium was filled. When the Buffalo Bills did have a good program, the stadium was not full. So you have to have a good program, and that doesn't mean weekly speakers, but that helps to bring people into your club. A good program. Excuse me. I guess I wasn't ready today to speak. Any other comments or questions? We got a couple minutes left. Anybody want to, add anything to this? I appreciate all the comments that you folks had put in today, and I apologize for my voice.
If I may, one of the other group of people that you may have in your club are those who seldom or rarely or not participate at all. Please don't forget them. How do you do that? Is find time to chat with them and say, I noticed, or what are your thoughts? Get them back to get engaged, because you might be losing those people. There might be a reason why they're not participating, and a good conversation and listening skills will come into play.
We've done that before. We've tried that before, and it didn't work.
It didn't work. So they're really on their way out.
There's some nice comments in here. Thank you, John, for all your work. Do you still have your spacesuit?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. I took all the patches off and just use it now for painting.
Patty says, I have been president 3 times, and I find that the secretary does way more work. I will try to engage more shy members to participate.
Yeah, Patty was a president when I was the governor.
You've given me a lot to think about, how I want to be a leader when my time comes to be president of my club.
What I'll do is I'll send Norma. I'll send this to the reference where I got this information from to you, and you can forward it, please.
Great, thank you. One last question for John or comments?
Well, thank you, everybody.
Everybody did a great job using the chat box. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And John, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
And we are going to the second part of leading your club with our past district governor, Chuck Turner of Brighton Rotary.
Norma, I have a 5-minute break right here.
Yes, we do. But he will be next. So please have a 5-minute stretch, cup of coffee, look outside. We'll see you in 5. Thank you.
Yeah, don't look outside.
Yeah.
No, catch few rays.
Tom, this is Chuck.
I'm here, Chuck.
I want to show just that brief agenda that we have for each one of these sessions.
Let's see. Janet, I believe, had the agenda.
I know.
But
Let me see if I can. I'll share it with the screen.
Good, because I don't have that handy.
Did everybody get one of those? I mean, everybody got these whole agendas, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I also posted it in the comments. It's at the very beginning of the comment if anyone wants to look. But that was a big stream of comments, so you have
Yeah.
to scroll up pretty good.
The outline for part 2 of
That's-
leading your club.
Yeah, that's right. And I have,
Objectives.
yeah, okay, that's great. That's what I want to show. I want to, not right at the beginning, but after I
I
do.
leave it there, Chuck, for you before you start. Do you want to do that?
Well, I want to pull it up after I start too.
I don't have that, Norma, so you would have to do that.
Okay, I will do. I'll leave it there, Chuck, and then let me know when I need to stop sharing, and then when you want me to share again.
Yeah, I have one other document that I typed myself. You don't have it. It's a summary of this harassment-free policy that I can pull it up if I'm sharing, but I don't know if I can pull it up if you're sharing.
No, I will have to stop and then you share.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I'll let you know then. When I do.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Ooh, Scott's moved outside. I have 10 o'clock.
It's pretty bright, yeah.
10 o'clock, and right in your screen is the next session's outline. And Chuck, just let me know if you want me to stop sharing.
Okay, I think we can share that for a few seconds here, because I want everybody to see what we're going to be covering in this next 30 minutes. Thank you, Norma and Jenna for inviting me to participate in this session. I remember I was district governor. I won't say exactly when I was district governor, but it goes back to 98, 99. So that is exactly when I was, which was a great job. But I think the best job in Rotary is being president of a Rotary Club. Yeah, that's the job that I think I got a tremendous amount of satisfaction out of, and I congratulate each one of you for taking on the responsibility of serving as president and taking on the joy of serving as president, because there's a tremendous amount of joy. We're going to be focusing, however, in this session on some of the things that aren't necessarily the top of the list in terms of the satisfaction and joy of being a president of a Rotary Club. So let's take a look at our learning objectives here. First of all, recognize that members are different in many ways. I think we've all experienced that, and it's one of the huge, I think, assets of Rotary. Establish some techniques in dealing with challenging club members, and that's what we'll address first here. That's the first session here. And then finally, recognize the importance of a club harassment policy. That is something that I don't think many of us think a lot about in terms of how do we keep an environment within our club as we are serving as a leader and president of the club, free of any of those kinds of behaviors that we all find so difficult and negative. So let's start looking first of all at this working with challenging members. Now here, we're talking a little bit different situation than what John covered in the first session. John covered our leadership styles, but the second point that he was talking about is motivating club members to engage. And of course, that's an extremely important part of your job. Motivation, getting to know your members. What are their strengths and weaknesses? What do they like to do and what don't they like to do? But in the context of a Rotary Club and the diverse membership that we have all encountered this situation of working with challenging members. And the outline identifies certain categories of members, and I would be surprised if there was anybody that hasn't encountered during your Rotary experience and your Rotary service someone that reflects, at least in part, the categories that Norma has identified here under the talking points. And let's just go over those quickly. And then what I'm really interested in doing is having you share with us, the group, some of the strategies that you've found are successful in dealing with folks that have these characteristics. So here are some of the examples of the challenging member. Always negative. That won't work. How many times have we heard that? Always negative. Let me get my page here. We have always done it that way. How many times have you heard that? Well, we can't do something new. We've always done it this way. A few of the inactive members are big talkers. When asked to do something, they fade away. So the people that talk a good game, but don't follow through on that to provide a substantive contribution to the club's charitable program, fellowship program, the whole gamut of activities that a Rotary Club is involved with. The member that critiques every activity or event, but has no suggestions or new ideas. They're just one of those naysayers. Those who continue to act, they are still the president or club officer. And there are some people that have difficulty relinquishing the responsibilities they held in a leadership position, and maybe in some ways resent that. I'm not sure, but that's possible. We do have bullies. We have bullies in every organization and every walk of life at different degrees of intensity, I would say. But the bully, and frankly, I haven't encountered many bullies in Rotary. I don't think we do have that, but it is a situation that can become very difficult. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with the person that's always right? How do we deal with the person that always wants it done his or her way? Tough. Now, there are other behaviors that can be challenging as well, and they don't always fall into one of these categories, but a couple of things that I have observed in my tenure in Rotary is the disruptive member. I mean, now they're not necessarily, that won't work, we've never done it that way, or some of the categories that we've listed on the agenda, but they become disruptive in the meeting. Maybe they're just talking throughout the meeting. They're sitting in the back at the back table or something, and there might be 2 or 3 people involved in this, and they are, I don't think they're intentionally trying to disrupt the meeting, but they are. They're disruptive. How do you deal with that and at the same time maintain kind of the camaraderie or develop the kind of camaraderie that you look forward to in a Rotary Club? When you come to a Rotary Club meeting, you expect to have fun, you expect to have good interactions, you expect to be, to some extent, entertained, but to share. And for a small group or an individual that's always talking under their breath, or they're always murmuring to their neighbor, that can be very disruptive to a club. And it could be very disruptive to you as president when you're trying to lead a meeting. And how do you deal with that? We had one person in our club, I'm with Brighton Rotary, that was very disruptive, and I'll share that experience maybe a little bit more as we go into it. And then we have members that are challenging because of something in their lives that is making it difficult for them to be a fully functional member of your club. It could be an addictive situation. It could be just a domestic situation. And I have found that many of those people that you have in your club that are undergoing those kinds of personal difficulties that we all know exist and maybe have had ourselves or in our family, but it can become a situation where it's difficult to blend that situation into the function of your Rotary Club. So those are the kinds of things we can encounter. They are the kinds of things that you will encounter. I hope not all of them, but you will encounter them during your year as president. Your club will look to you to help solve those situations or to take positive steps to remedy them in some fashion. The question is, what's effective? What have you found? Many of you you're serving, I gather, many of you are serving your second year as president. Ralph Squire probably is in his 4th year. I don't know, Ralph, how many years? You're muted, but we've gone through multiple years, so you have a lot of experience to draw on. And to me, dealing with these situations is not necessarily a black or white answer. There's not hard and fast rules. That's where leadership comes in. Leader comes in when you can develop the resources that are necessary to address something that's affecting your club. So I would appreciate your thoughts and sharing with us, not in great detail because unfortunately we don't have a lot of time, but let's see, was somebody going to look at my chats here?
Yeah, I'm looking at them.
Okay, are these related to our present topic?
Yep, just beginning. I try to find out what their motivation was in joining Rotary in the first place. And I have found some of our members are Rotarians, those who do, and some who are Rotary members, almost in name only. I will need to address this better, find a way to make them feel engaged. I like using humor to deflect some of that kind of attitude.
And so how would you employ that humor and dealing with a challenging member? Oh, I think I'm muted. Am I muted?
No, you're not muted.
But you're not.
Has anybody heard anything I've said in the last 10 minutes?
Yes, we've heard everything you said. Good job.
You're welcome.
Chuck, he would like, Scott Rasmussen would like you to use some examples.
I'm sorry, you would like me to what?
Chuck, Scott Rasmussen would like you to use some examples.
Of the challenging member?
I'm not
Challenging
sure.
member? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, I use the example, and of course we had it in our club of the disruptive member. And the disruptive member in our club was somebody that was constantly talking during the meeting, and we could not keep them quiet. I would talk to them individually. Other people, leadership would talk to them individually. But we ultimately found out that the issue was partially medical. It was a combination of medication that he was on and some of the issues that he was going through that just, there was sort of just a compulsion there to comment on everything, to speak on everything, sometimes to speak out loud on everything. And it was very difficult to resolve that because it was almost an addictive, compulsive behavior. But we were able to reduce the amount of disruption, and we talked to him pretty regularly. We talked to his wife, was very helpful in helping us learn how to deal with that. And so while we could not eliminate it, we did reduce it to the extent that the disruption during the meeting became much less and less difficult. Now,
From
maybe,
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
From the chat box, I
Yeah.
have someone who would address the situation by having a private conversation with the difficult member first, possibly bring a neutral third member to be a part of the conversation. This would be to better understand the difficult member's situation. Another chat, a clear agenda helps me to keep conversation from going off the rails, and also reassure the members that there is a time and place to speak on particular topics. Another comment, so respond with compassion. Last one, our past president both privately addressed a difficult member and added recitation of the Rotary four-way test for all of us at each meeting. It helped.
Well, I like that suggestion of bringing in a third party. I think this is Michael, is it?
Yeah, Mike Schiller.
Yeah, Mike, where are you?
I don't think his picture's up.
Okay, but bringing in a third, bringing in a neutral, a neutral third member or third party from your Rotary Club. There may be a combination of people within your club that can help reach the individual that you're talking about. The disruptive member is kind of a specific kind of a situation, but how about the member that is just critical all the time, but never really makes an effort to be involved in a positive way? How would you deal with somebody like that? Anybody have any experience in that area? Is this a personal one-on-one conversation, or is it more than that? Is it?
It could be a conversation between the president and maybe a third party about, why are you a Rotarian? What brought you here? How can we make that experience valuable for you? And then we have, let's see, we have a small club, and as leaders, we have structured our meetings so that there is a time for visiting, which has reduced talking during meeting times. Redirect the critical member. The critical member you need to know very well and use humor to get past. Seems that more patience and understanding is needed when working with volunteers versus the workplace.
I think that's a very good point. Patience and understanding is very as a quality and a trait that's very much needed in any person in a leadership position. So I think that's an excellent point. But patience in dealing with that the member that is more negative than positive, you can run out of that pretty quickly if the thing continues. And why is this so important? Why is dealing with this challenging member so important? I mean, if you have a member like John was trying to say, how do we motivate our members in general and get them active? But here we're dealing with individuals that have these challenging circumstances, and what can be so damaging in that situation that goes beyond just a member not being active?
So really, two comments from Melissa and Newer. Contagious negativity. So her response would be to put them on the spot and ask for solutions or ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we are volunteers, we need to maintain a level of professionalism and cooperation in order to maintain our clubs. Yes, the negativity could affect other members. Brenda would like some examples of humor, please. Another comment is they feed off bringing people down their road. Negativity could catch on. We want a positive club.
And that's what I think is the danger. Not only do we want to address the challenging member and hopefully make their membership in Rotary more rewarding and satisfactory for them. That's an important goal. But we also don't want and I think several of the comments have reflected on this, we don't want that to be catchy. You know, we don't want it to destroy the enjoyment that the rest of our members have in the club. And in some situations it could. And so this is where leadership of the president is just extremely important, either directly bearing on that member or rounding up the resources. And it may be other club members that are close to that member trying to work with them. And so it's not an easy task whatsoever. I thank you for your comments and thoughts about this. I want to move on to the harassment part of this session, but I also want to emphasize how important it is to be thinking about how you're going to deal with the member. Obviously, you know the members of your club to a certain extent at this point, and dealing with these little issues, and they're not always so little, is very, very important to the success of your club during the time that you're president and thereafter. You're trying to set stage for the future as well. I would like to move on to the harassment issue here, harassment policy. And let me see, this is where, Norma, I wanted to bring up this little summary of the harassment-free policy. Can I share my screen?
Tom has given that permission, yes.
All right, well, let's see what I can do here.
Oops.
Can people see this?
Yep.
All right. Now, the first thing I think you ought to understand is RI has a policy regarding a harassment-free environment. And I think that policy, as it's set forth in our district policies and procedures, has been sent to everybody. What I have done here, that's a fairly long document, and there's a lot, documents are a lot longer than that, Rotary International, but this is all contained in the policies. Well, let's see, I was thinking about what Rotary calls it. Rotary Code of Policies. This is what Rotary International calls their compendium of all their Rotary Code of Policies. And this policy about a harassment-free environment is contained in that Code of Policies. If you have not yet had occasion to get access to those Code of Policies, as well as the RI Constitution and the standard bylaws and the standard Constitution and the recommended bylaws for Rotary clubs, I recommend that you take take some time and take a look at those things. They're very valuable. Not that you're going to read all 400 pages, but you are going to become a little bit familiar with what's in there and how to get access to it. And then read your own constitution and bylaws. It's very important for the president to know what's in there. And we've had several presidents in our club that just couldn't seem to bring themselves to understand how our bylaws work. It's important. That's very important. So what we have here is there have been a number of provisions in the RI documents regarding harassment. Last year, in 2019, those provisions were sort of pulled all together in policy 26.120. So if you wanted to look up what the RI rule stated, you can look there. But that's also been adopted as part of the district's policies and procedures. And we have quite an extensive set of policies and procedures that helps to administer the district. And if you're not familiar with those, I recommend you go on the district website to look at our policies and procedures. And this is the summary of the policy and procedure regarding harassment. And it starts out is District 7120 is committed to a harassment-free environment. That's the introductory sentence or two. They define what harassment is, and that's what I've got in this paragraph too. And this I think is quoted almost directly from the policy that's in our documents. Any conduct, verbal or physical, that denigrates, insults, or offends a person or group on any characteristic, age, ethnicity, race, color, abilities, religion, socioeconomic status, culture, sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity. I think they pretty well covered the waterfront on that. But any conduct that offends any group or individual in those areas. So what is the duty of a club and district leadership? They shall promptly address alleged inappropriate behavior, including harassment as defined above, all right? There's a reference there to no retaliation. I think you're all familiar with that. That derives from really the whistleblower, all the whistleblower provisions, no retaliation. Well, there's no retaliation here permitted in regard to alleging a complaint or making an allegation of some sort of harassing procedures or activity. Criminal matters must always be referred to local law enforcement. But again, these things draw into play judgment. Now, if the allegation is made at a club level, which is this paragraph 4, the board of your club has the absolute obligation to investigate and review that and respond very quickly. Now, the language is respond within a reasonable time, and then they typically 1 week. Well, that's very, very quick time to respond. And the circumstances may exist that response in that length of time is not reasonable, but they've set a standard there of 1 week. And if you take longer than that, you're going to have to justify why it did take longer.
Just 5 minutes.
Yes, okay. I'm watching that, but thank you, Janet.
Okay.
And there's also a reference there that if the club does not respond within a reasonable time, a referral or a contact to the district governor is appropriate, or may refer to the DG if club fails to adequately address allegations. Now, who makes that referral? Well, it could be anybody. Anybody in the club, maybe outside the club even, if somebody outside the club is involved. Then allegations at the district level, you just jump up a level, and it's the governor that's responsible for the review at that situation, and the respondent must be made within a reasonable time. Again, typically 1 week. And finally, paragraph 6, it says clubs are encouraged to establish a code of conduct and policies for how to address and prevent harassment within their clubs. Now, I don't know if anybody here or any club has developed any codes or policies in regard to harassment. I'm just going to stop sharing at this point. There we go.
Canandaigua has adopted the district, Rotary and district policy.
Okay, any of the Canandaigua. So you've pretty much adopted the policy that's in our district policies and procedures?
Yes, because it was broad enough to cover most issues.
Yes, it is. And that is a very good place to start. I'm not certain that that's the place you end up necessarily, totally. But it certainly is a very good place to start because it does cover a statement of purpose and a value statement in terms of a harassment-free environment. You may want to add some additional provisions in there in terms of how it's to be handled internally within your club. It says the board review. Well, you could put in situations there as to how procedurally you're going to, how it's going to be submitted to the board, and putting in there about the length of time that the board has to consider it and so on. So there may be other things. You may want to put things in there as to types of remedies that you may want to apply in the event you find there has been harassment. Do you want to terminate someone's membership? Well, that gets to be a pretty extreme situation, but those are the kinds of things I think every club needs to think about. But I do think that this harassment policy, harassment-free policy, we don't have a policy of harassment. We have a policy of harassment-free environment. How that's going to work with your club, and that's why it can come down to a club level, is to set your own procedures to a certain extent, but keeping in mind that you want to comply with the integrity of the district and RI policy and doing that. But certainly you're entitled to make changes that affect changes that you think are pertinent because of the particular circumstances as to the way your club operates. I wish we had a lot more time to go into that, but we don't. But are there any comments in general? Do you see what the benefit of a policy, or do you have questions as to whether you really need a policy?
There's a comment on the chat that says, from Mike Schiller of Canandaigua, I have to say there was a really good harassment training section on myrotary.org that I feel every member should see. Scott Rasmussen.
Good suggestion, Michael. Thank you for that. And if there's any special instructions that someone needs to find that in My Rotary, maybe you could disseminate that as well.
That's
also part of the learning plan and the club president basics. So if you go there, there's also an extensive class for that.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah, so
Dave.
go to the learning center.
All right, thank you, Dave. Hannan?
Yep, thank you, Chuck. I just want to emphasize, because this policy became part of RI's policy and procedure about 1.5 years ago. And at that point in time, we brought it into the district training assembly for the then presidents-elect who served as president of their clubs last year. And it's so much more helpful if you have a club policy in place before there's a complaint. If you try to put in a policy after the complaint comes in, it can be deemed as prejudicial either toward the complainant or toward the defendant. So I encourage everybody who does not yet have a club policy to get one in place sooner rather than later.
Very good advice, David. Thank you very much. I think my time is up, if I'm right.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed being with you. I wish we had more time, but certainly the best wishes to all of you in your year as president and thereafter.
Thank you, Chuck. And we are now going to start with our strategic planning. And may I call on Amey, Bruce, Amey
No problem.
sorry about that.
No problem. Tom, you can start the PowerPoint there. I'd like to thank Norma and Janet for asking me to participate. I'm one of 6 district strategic planning facilitators. Bill Gormont of Greece, Scott McDonald of Clifton Springs, Kevin Mooney of Newark, Leslie Veggiati of Palmyra Macedon, and Ralph Brandt of Bloomfield are also trainers. And I need to thank Mike Slovak, our past district governor, for encouraging this process throughout the district. Let me see, is that going to start for you, Tom?
There we go.
Yep, okay, you can advance that too. John Hall mentioned, spoke of goals, and as a leader, you need to help guide your club with goals, but they need to tie to a strategic plan or they're going to just be haphazard. And Brenda Herman of Greece had a chat in there that said the goals work well with strategic planning, and she is correct. If you could go to the next slide there, Tom. Why strategically plan? Strategic planning is a disciplined effort that produces fundamental decisions and actions that shape and guide your club. Effective strategic planning articulates not only where an organization is going and the actions needed to make progress, but also how you'll know if it's been successful along the way. And the district's process does that. As you look at goals, make sure we've heard, those of us in various organizations, have heard about SMART goals in the past, which means they need to be strategic, again, tied to a strategic plan. They need to be measurable. They need to be attainable, relevant, and time-based. And as we go through the process of helping guide a club in building its strategic plan, or start to build its strategic plan, it's very important that the goals be SMART goals. You can advance that, Tom, please. The district's strategic planning process is first and foremost looking at a club health check. If you have not done a club health check yet, it's a tool that was developed based off some other things, and it gives you data. So often we knee-jerk react to different things as we're planning in our clubs, and the data collected from your membership through a club health check is incredibly important. That does include, again, 5 areas that are listed here: the club experience, members rate their members, how active and how participatory they are, and if you have disruptive members, as Chuck was talking about, the club and Rotary image, service and social activities, as well as business operations. One of the first things we do is part of the process is we review and develop a club vision statement. Part of that is we review RI's vision statement, which, again, if you've never seen it, is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe in our communities and in ourselves. Your strategic planning team, we talk as each president has reached out and asked us to come in and do a strategic planning workshop, has asked us to look at different things and analyzing club health check data to identify your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We call them SWOTs as we're going through the planning process. We actually go through every one of the 5 areas, and on chart paper, although we've been talking about how to do this virtually now, but on chart paper have the members of the planning team identify those things. We put them on the chart paper so they're in front of everybody and we can see them. And those help us move forward in the process and help you move forward in the process as a club. The club health check helps you see where you are today, where you want to go, and then what is your plan to get there. It's a 5-hour process that we've done in the past, and we help facilitate the club's planning activity that starts the process with you. Typically, in that 5-hour process, we get through at least 1 and sometimes 2 goals to help you get started on a process. My club in Avon, we were one of the first clubs to go through it. Bill and Scott came out and led our club through the strategic planning process. And I think that's kind of how I got lassoed into helping out as well, because we were one of the first clubs to go through the process. But we are continually going back and reviewing what our club health check has done. The facilitation planning team has added a few questions and clarifications based on some feedback to the club health check, but we've also tried to maintain some things so you can as you redo a club health check, you can see how perceptions have changed and the data has changed within your club. If you could go to the next slide, Tom. This is an example of what the club health check analysis will look like. If you need to see that better, you can make that screen larger on your screen just by scrolling, moving the panel over to the right, and it will reduce how many people you see on your screen. But basically, what this does is, I mean, these are some actual topics. This is from an actual club. We've just called it as a sample XYZ club, but these are some of the questions that are asked to rate. And if you go to the next slide, Tom, please. Some of the important information to see on this is it does tell you what your club's membership is, and then how many participated in the process. And so I've put a couple arrows there just to emphasize that this particular club had 68% participate in the survey. We'd like to strive for more participation because, you know, if you have 50% or less, the data you're looking at doesn't tell you much of advantage. And so there have been times we've asked a club president to have your membership go back and encourage those members who have not participated to do the club health check. Mike Slovak and Scott McDonald then coagulate that down so it's usable to look at this information as it's showing here on this slide. That, you know, what is it in essence saying? Tom, if you could advance to the next slide, please. Some things to pay attention to that we have are, if you look at this particular slide, you know, it's important to notice not just how many people always or most of the time or so forth, but, you know, you look at what I've circled here, you know, of half the time, occasionally or never, members sit at different tables each week. You know, and that says quite a bit that in this example, you got 35 out of 44 participants saying, you know, they many times are not staying at different locations. And so from that vantage point, it does become interesting to have the conversation. We talked about how do you engage members in one of the, I think it was Scott's or pardon me, John's presentation and so forth. And just certainly encouraging people to move around. One of the things that our past president did was he had people draw a number when they came in and they had to sit at the table with that number on it to force people to move around and engage with others. That also works very well when you have new members at a club too, who find themselves sitting off on one table on a side. So, I mean, but the key in going through your strategic planning is using the data that this club health check provides for you. The next slide, if you could, Tom. From the data, again, as I mentioned before, we gather the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that you see in that data. And then during the process, we encourage the club, okay, what opportunity do you want to advance? Do you want to look at first? What do you see as critical? As opposed, you know, and sometimes as you're doing planning, you don't want to choose the highest mountain to climb. That's for sure, because it can build some difficulty in that process. But you come up with an opportunity, and during this 5-hour facilitation that we're doing, identify who you might, and this is an old sheet, I think Bill has changed it. It wasn't a lean leader, it's a team leader supposed to be. Didn't exactly know what a lean leader was. But who will be members, and if you notice, the key thing that's on here, I think, is completion date. Again, you go back to your SMART goal being time measured. You need to be setting times as to your target date, and then when you've completed it, what is your plan? If you just put something down and don't go through and encourage or set you for your own self a time frame you're going to try and accomplish something, it won't get done. So from that vantage point, it is important. The next slide, Tom, please. The key to any kind of planning is recognizing it's a process. It is not a book that gets put on a shelf. You perform a strategic analysis through the club health check and the SWOTs, as we said. Develop the future vision, as again was commented on before back in John's presentation. You detail the strategy actions, which is part of that sheet that it was just on the previous page. You execute that strategy, but then you've got to monitor and adjust the strategy. Is it working? Is what we set out as a plan something that's going to work? We have a process in the facilitation team to try and check back after 3 months, 6 months, a year with clubs with whom we've done the process. Do you need any help? How you doing? And where are you in the process? Our club, again, I said we were one of the first, and our president-elect had gone through the process, and it kind of sat for a year, and we weren't moving very far. And I kept pushing to say, Heather, where can we go with this? Where can we go? And then last year we got back together and we made some tremendous movement with reviewing our bylaws, coming up with a guidelines manual as to how to do things in the club, how they've been done in the past as just a place to start. Working with another club, Ontario Walworth, we developed a mentoring plan because we did not have one down to help bring new members into a club. So looking at what you're trying to do with the 5 areas again of club experience, members, your club image, service and social activities, and business operations, you continually reviewing those things and how can you make them work better. It does overlap. You'll find many of those activities that you have identified through the club health check overlap. So you're hitting more than one area at a time, which is good. But again, as you identify the priorities, and it is an ongoing process, and our strategic planning team tries to meet once a month as we get the year started, and then we get back together, and we might meet every other month or something of that notion, because we don't really need to. What's our progress? We just communicate that through the media. But I think the strategic, a question you need to ask as a president-elect is, does your club have a strategic plan? And what is the value of having that strategic plan? And again, setting goals, and every president sets goals, but they do need to be connected. Otherwise, again, you'll find some of your membership just feeling like they're shooting all over the place in different years and so forth. And so it's important to have a strategic plan. Tom, if you go to the next slide, please. Some evaluation comments that we've had from clubs who have completed the strategic planning workshop. And again, it's a 5-hour process, as I said. It's a commitment from your team. They have found the time very productive and motivating. And by the way, I mentioned a team and how that team is created. A president reaching out, I think, is a great thing to do. Again, we've done several that have had the president-elect doing it and getting their own head around their next year kind of thing. But depending on the size of your club, we can handle up to 20. You don't want to just have your board, although I think it's important to have your board participate, however many board members you have. But going forward from that, it's a good thing to do. They found the time extremely productive. They learned much in a short time, as I said here. They accomplished a lot. A great kickstart to their year. This was written by one of those clubs. And our club, which is a pretty solid group to begin with, worked together in this capacity for the first time. I found that one to be incredible. That here, this group, and they're a great group together, but hadn't ever stopped to take the time to plan a course together and so forth.
5 minutes.
Thank you. The session was a lifesaver, a must for a new or stale clubs. You know, if you're finding your club is a little bit stagnant, it's a good thing to contact myself or one of the other facilitators to say, you know, we'd like to go through this process, and it's a key to building what you want. Tom, if you can go to the last slide, please. We are people of action, and I find the strategic planning process is to help us get to make that action have a direction and have some continuity for your membership and so forth. And again, I do see the one question of who attends the workshop. Engage as many as you can in the process is good. I think it's important that your directors are there as well, since they're helping plan things out.
Did you see the question about Part A is very pre-COVID? Any plans to adapt to current circumstances?
Oh, okay, that was for me. Again, we've had some conversations on that, we're still working on that plan as to how to do that. You know, how to create, since if we aren't together creating the easel board papers and things of that notion, we're saying how can we do that to then make that shareable. So we haven't come to a determination yet with our planning team, but we're still working on that. And as soon as we get a request to do one, I'm sure we'll come up with a plan.
Any other questions or comments? Put them in the chat box, please.
I did that in 45 minutes last year at the PETS training. So when
Good job.
Norma said 20, we did a lot more of the analysis with the club health check when we had the groups together, where you could actually look at the data and I could elicit more conclusions you would draw from it. But in this environment at this point in time, I figured just quickly try and go through what is the process that we've developed.
All right, so we've got some comments here. Great presentation, thanks. If you don't know where you're going, you're already there.
That's true. That's very, very true.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
This is just truly a teaser, and that's why if you want to go more in detail, please invite the team to your club. So,
sure. Yep, be glad to do that.
And
thank you, Bruce.
If no one has any more, said very good information we'll bring to my club.
Please do. And again, reach out to any one of us on the planning team, and we create a spread. We have a spreadsheet we've created as to where the contact is. We have information we then send out to the president and the facilitator as to what they need to put together. Again, we're in the process of revising that for more virtual. And my time is up, I think.
We have a 5-minute break at this point. So before IPDG Dave comes on, you can get up and move around for a few minutes.
Stretch. Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Norma, for asking me.
It's 10:55 and please get ready. And we are going to welcome our immediate past district governor, Dave Hannan, for part 2 of strategic plan.
Okay, thank you, Norma. I see myself unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you very much, Norma. Thank you, Janet. And good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Hannan, the immediate past district governor of District 7120. That puts me on the cycle about 2 decades behind Chuck Turner, whom you heard from earlier. And my personal action plan is to be as engaged in Rotary 2 decades from now as Chuck is today. So thanks, Chuck, and thanks to everyone for participating. This Rotary is a great journey. I have about a 30-minute presentation for a 45-minute time slot. So I would ask that you put your questions into the chat box. Janet is going to filter those and will answer the ones that she deems most pertinent, and you can blame her if she finds your question not pertinent. But we will answer all the questions, and we may do it personally. So we will scroll through, and any questions that we don't have time for, we will address personally after the meeting. So Tom is going to start my slide presentation. Earth calling Tom.
Tom and I,
Oh, he's missing from the screen.
yes. And I don't have a copy of yours, Dave, so I can't help you.
There he is.
No, that.
He's coming.
Okay, welcome
he's
back, Tom. Ready for
Ready.
the action plan.
All right, coming through. Ah. Ta-da.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Bruce just left you with the idea of creating an action plan for your club. And you don't have to do that in a vacuum. Rotary International has its own strategic plan with an action plan, and you can model your club's plan along that line. Today, I will discuss the 4 elements of that plan and what you can do in leading your club cohesively within that plan. Let's start with Rotary International's vision statement. You heard this just a few minutes ago from Bruce, but it's so important and so pertinent. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. I think this is a great vision statement for Rotary, and key in on the words unite and take action. Why unite? Because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We can do more together than we can each do individually. Why take action? Well, isn't that why we are Rotarians? We want to do good in the world, in our communities, and across the globe. Oh, and that's also how we each become better individuals. Individually and collectively, we are people of action. And as people of action, we know that fulfilling a vision requires a plan. Bruce told you, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. We don't want you or your Rotary Club to fail. So let's develop a plan. Rotary International began developing their plan by taking a look in the mirror, asking hard questions, and making self-assessments. They conducted focus groups and surveys and asked more than 1 million leaders and Rotary participants across the world to share their input. You can take a look at your club in the same manner. The process started in 2015. They talked to people in 15 countries around the world, and you can see the diversity reflected with those flags. Actually, Rotary is now in 220 countries, so it was somewhat limited, but certainly diverse. They asked, what would motivate people to join a service organization? It boiled down to 4 things, and here are the results. People want an organization with a sense of purpose, with opportunity for community service. They want an organization with causes that are important to them. They want an established reputation, a strong heritage. They want programs that make a difference locally. That's what will bring in members. Rotary has all this. Does your club? Well, it certainly can. We asked if they had heard of Rotary. 3 out of 4 people are aware of Rotary. And people know enough about us to know that we can do good in the world. But only 35% saw Rotary as an organization for people like themselves. And just 25% of people surveyed said they knew someone in Rotary. We need to get the word out. We need a more visible public image. What we do with polio eradication. See the purple pinky? And what we do in our communities. It's time we started bragging about it. Not for the glory, but for the visibility. That's what brings inquiries about membership. Let's face it, there's a demographic shift going on in our country, in our state, and in our communities. The rising generations share our passion for community and for making a difference. That's just human nature. But how do we engage the next generation? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because Rotary has a plan, an action plan, and it is a clear-eyed plan about the challenges we face in our clubs and in our district. It acknowledges the difficult conversations we've had at Rotary and must continue to have. The action plan offers a framework and the room to identify and address potential disconnects between the goals and the needs of clubs and districts and Rotary International. But the action plan is also driven by a sense of optimism, a belief that we are and will continue to be essential in our communities, to the world, and to humanity. Don't we all want a stronger, more effective Rotary? A Rotary that's more open to new members and new ideas? The action plan helps guide us on this. Younger generations have different expectations about how to spend their time, who to spend it with, and what motivates them. This action plan encourages us to use our collective global imagination to bring fresh ideas to the forefront. As a Rotary leader, you've been entrusted with the pivotal role of encouraging buy-in for this action plan and of helping your club realize these priorities over the next 5 years. The action plan is ambitious but achievable, with a 5-year time frame that will push us but not exhaust us. It's focused and precise. There are 4 priorities in the action plan. Each priority reflects the research that was done with over 1 million people in and out of Rotary. We're confident that we are in the right 4 priorities. And here they are. Increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. That's the plan. Again, increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. Now let's look at each of these priorities in a little more detail and how to turn these priorities into action. Our first action plan priority is to increase our impact. Our actions will be driven by these questions. What do we want our legacy to be? How do we define and measure our impact? And how can we do even more good in the world? Rotarians are effective problem solvers who create solutions that last because we invest in relationships. What all the leadership books today call building social capital. Our clubs work as teams, and we build trust within our clubs. Rotarians know how to mobilize our networks, and we are constantly learning from our experience as we participate in clubs, volunteer in projects, and manage our careers. We put that knowledge to use, reinvesting in our communities. Throughout the fight to end polio, we've shown what we can do when we draw on our collective strengths. We've created solutions customized for the people they serve. We've evaluated results to learn from our successes and setbacks. We've forged partnerships with global health partners. When we found that infrastructure was missing, we built it. This is our legacy, the areas of focus for the Rotary Foundation. And it's also a model we will use again and again in pursuit of our goals. Maternal and child health, water and sanitation, growing local economies, disease prevention and treatment, peace building, and education and literacy. But we are in a data-driven world. Our legacy must be measurable. If we're going to increase our impact, we'll need to provide more proof of what Rotarians are achieving. We have to provide the data. This is best practice. You may do this in your own profession. We know that potential partners like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as younger Rotarians, want to see the proof of impact. By documenting the metrics of our good works, we get a clear picture of results. We learn how to replicate and scale up our successes, and we can tell more compelling stories about the good we do. As club leaders, you'll need to familiarize yourself with myrotary.org and entering data about your club membership, foundation contributions, and activities in your communities. There is a lot you can do at the club level. We are encouraging a greater sense of focus instead of clubs trying to do too many things and getting only halfway there. We had 26 clubs in District 7120 achieve the Rotary citation last year. Make sure your club is among those next year, but you'll have to enter the data. Your district leadership is available to help you with that. We want clubs to collect more information on community impact and do pre and post activity evaluations so they can tell compelling stories about the impact their club is making in their communities. Together, let's prove that our impact on the world has only just begun. Let's increase our impact. That's priority number one. Our second action plan priority is to expand our reach so that we can grow our capacity to increase our impact. People of action activate inspire, and give others hope that they can be part of the change that makes the world better. Together, actions will be driven by these questions. How can we share our values with new audiences? How can we inspire more people to take action? What new models can we test that bring people together to experience the power of Rotary? Let's start with those who have already shown an enthusiasm for Rotary. How about Rotaractors, Interactors, Youth Exchange alumni, Community Corps, and Friends of Rotary? They're energetic, passionate, and driven community-minded professionals. They're critical to the future of Rotary. That's why we're conducting research with them to find out what they want from Rotary and how we can attract others like them. At the RI level, they're developing new products and alternative participant models. So regardless of where people live, they can join us and take action. At the club level, we need to actively invest in bringing in more people from different backgrounds. There are so many ways to create new channels into Rotary, bringing family members to events, involving local Rotaractors, Interactors, Youth Exchange students, and Friends of Rotary. Let's update our club's websites and social media pages. Let more people hear the name Rotary and see us in action. These are all kinds of service-minded people in our communities, and we want these people to connect with Rotary. So let's open up our thinking about who a member can be and then reach out to these new people. The key to growing membership: ask. Start a dialogue about how we can mutually benefit from their participation in our activities and events. How can we revitalize our clubs? Well, let's look at new audiences. Let's form partnerships with different organizations and agencies. Many Rotary clubs already partner with schools and universities, the Chamber of Commerce, local governments, social service agencies, and other volunteer organizations. That's fantastic, but we need to look beyond that. Let's consider all the ways that people are connecting through shared professional goals or shared cultures or interests, and let's invite these people to connect with us. When we think beyond traditional partnerships, we show we're an open, engaging organization. We demonstrate that positive change starts with welcoming the talents and ideas of others. Together, let's build connections and opportunities that will allow people who share our drive to do the same. That's what will grow membership and expand our reach. Our third action plan priority is to enhance participant engagement. This naturally follows expanding our reach. Our actions will be driven by these questions. How can we assure that Rotarians find long-term value in their membership? What will improve the Rotary experience? What skills can people learn through Rotary? And how can we better develop our leaders? As people of action, we strive to understand the needs of others. But like the people and communities we serve, our members need to know that they are seen, heard, and valued. They're seeking experiences that feel personally and professionally relevant and fulfilling. And in some cases, we have not delivered on that need. This priority is aimed at making sure that we give our members meaningful opportunities to evolve and grow with us, personally and professionally, throughout their lives. This is all about membership retention. It should be easier to keep a member than to gain a new one. If your club is a revolving door of members, you better take a look. Why are you not meeting expectations? But let's not stop with our current members. We want to improve the overall Rotary experience for anyone who affiliates with us. We should take nothing for granted. We need to look at every encounter as an opportunity to show our people what Rotary can do for them, as individuals and as members of our communities. Let's create the space for members, participants, and the community at large to provide regular feedback on their experiences and needs. Let's not wait for community need to present itself to us. Let's be proactive and become known as the people who spot opportunities for positive change. And let's take a hard look at what happens when people volunteer with us or attend our events. Are we doing everything we can to say, we're thankful you're here? You matter to us. Together, let's recommit to putting the needs, expectations, and growth of our participants at the center of all we do. People join Rotary to serve. Let's nurture that expectation and enhance participant engagement. Our fourth action plan priority is to increase our ability to adapt. You can have an action plan that increases your impact, expands your reach, and enhances participant engagement. But that's not quite enough. Your community will continue to evolve, so we must adapt. Our actions will be driven by these questions. How can we adapt faster to a changing world? How can new perspectives strengthen Rotary? What new ideas could create lasting change? Rotarians are inventive, entrepreneurial, and resilient. That's why we're people of action. And because we share those qualities, new approaches to our organizing principles won't threaten our sense of who we are. It's time for us to seek out fresh opportunities, to embrace innovative ideas, and to take calculated risks. We must create more paths to membership and leadership, welcome new voices, and simplify how we operate. Rotary International is already tackling some of the big operational issues. They're going to look at governance models, committee structures, business processes at the secretariat level, and more. Everything is on the table. Now, many of you have been through this kind of deep dive into internal processes in your own companies and organizations. You know it isn't glamorous, but you also know it is absolutely essential if we want to create a strong foundation for innovation, sustainability, and growth. I encourage your clubs to take a fresh look at club governance and look at ways to streamline it. You can create a fund to take some risks and try out new activity ideas. You can host a club meeting at new locations and at new times. You can invite non-Rotarians to club board meetings to gain new and different perspectives and ideas. Together, let's stay true to ourselves and stay ahead of change in our next 115 years. Now that I've shared more about our collective vision for the future, I hope you will see how the action plan speaks to all of us at every level of Rotary. I think now you see that each one of these 4 priorities must be owned by each of us. But we don't have to address them in the same way. Each club is unique. Again, as Bruce told you, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Let's play to our strengths as leaders, as clubs, and as members. There is much RI can do at the corporate level in terms of operations and infrastructure. And there is much that each club and each Rotarian can do so that everyone who engages with us has a meaningful, valuable, and fulfilling experience. Working together, doing what each of us does best, we can make a stronger Rotary and change more lives and communities for the better. But for the next 5 years to be as transformative as we need them to be, each and every one of us is going to have to take the role of action plan champions. I know you can do it because you've already proven yourself to be just that, real champions. Champions in a way that you advocate for Rotary, champions of leadership, and champions of inspiration. As action plan champions, we will set the example by responding to change, actively shaping Rotary's culture, and guiding Rotary through the next century of service. This has been a lot to cover. More information is on the RI website. If you have any questions about the action plan or how you can get involved, or to stay updated on our programs, go to the website rotary.org/strategic plan. Together, let's increase our impact, expand our reach, enhance participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. Together, let's carry out Rotary's vision of a better world. Let's show the world what it means to be people of action. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
One question we had, Dave, was will this slideshow be shared, or is it something that they can get from the RI website?
Yeah, if you go to that website, rotary.org/action plan, you can download the program. It doesn't have my speech on it. It's got some alternate wording, but that will give you the slides if you want that.
But you would be available as a speaker to any club that asks if they want to submit it virtually, correct?
Certainly.
Let's see. Lots of comments. Great presentation. Very inspiring. So motivational. Thank you. Thank you for helping us focus on the big picture. I think we learned a lot during the pandemic, that we have flexibility in how we do our meetings. Our Zoom attendance has been wonderful. Fabulous. Helps me think even bigger.
You can read these on your chat yourself. Also, I put the 2 links that Dave had in the chat in case you want to get to them later.
And don't forget, this session was recorded, so you can always bring up this piece of it to show at your club meeting if Dave's not available. We have some time. Your words were awesome. It sounded like you had them written down. Can the text be shared?
What do you think, Tom?
The slide deck has the exact thing almost verbatim. Dave put in a lot of time to this PowerPoint, which is why it looks seamless. A lot of work behind the scenes. So if Dave's not available to share, you can probably run the slides yourself. Just go through it a couple times first.
Hey, Janet, since you don't have any questions at the moment, let me just comment. In prior years, at this time of the year, we did a seminar called One Rotary Summit. And the concept behind One Rotary Summit was to look at the whirlpool of activity that comes with membership recruitment and retention, public image, and doing good in the world through the foundation and local community projects. So there's much the same theme in this action plan presentation as we had a year or 2 ago in our One Rotary Summit presentation. So for those of you who were in attendance at those, you may see some analogies here.
Ken Van Deeren says his club includes a $500 stipend to new members to champion a cause and affect the reach into the community.
I like that. That's cool.
Lynn Wozniak says, looking for opportunities to help improve relationships and trust among the diverse population in our community. Any suggestions?
Yeah, it's really a matter of being part of your strategic plan, and Bruce may want to answer as well, because what you have to do is a community assessment and see what are the missing members of your club from your community, whether it be a gender or a racial or a religious or an occupational deficit in your membership, such that you don't have a broad spectrum of community members in your club. You need to take a look at that, and that's where the strategic plan is helpful. Bruce, any comments?
Yeah, I would concur with that. And that is part of the club health check. Those are some of the actual areas in the club health check that are talking about the diversity within your club. And it becomes an interesting conversation. Some clubs don't want to do that. And I think, part of Dave's message there that I found very inspiring is how we must, as Rotarians, engage. And again, when I attended the international conference in Toronto, I can honestly say it blew me away as to, I hadn't realized, I know Rotary's huge, I know we're all over the world, but I hadn't realized until I was actually seeing and engaging with people from other countries and cultures. And so within our own communities, we all do have that. That is asked for perceptions from your members in the club health check when doing the strategic planning process. And it should, hopefully, will lead to some outstanding conversation as to how to engage. And initially it's, do we want to engage? Because some clubs, like, as was said before, it's always been that way. So.
David,
Bruce,
if I may comment on the question of Lynn Wozniak, Rotary International is very cognizant of the diversity of people that we have. And that's why they came up with that diversity, equity, and inclusion committee and initiative. And in the RI website, again, I keep going back to the RI website and Learning Center, there are sessions in talking about not just creating, but also addressing those diversity issues or those inclusion issues. So I refer you back to the Rotary International website and get some education from there, or some other thoughts on how we could address diversity in our clubs. And trust definitely is a big thing in our community right now. So,
Norma, great point. And I'll add one other thing to that. There's, in my experience in talking with clubs over the past couple of years, there's a little tension between quantity of membership and quality of membership. That is, do you strive to become the biggest club around, taking all comers and reaching out to everyone, or do you try to narrow your focus to people who will be on the more active side of membership? And I would just relate to you my own personal experience. I joined Rotary in 1986 at the beginning of my career. There was no way that I could do much more than attend a couple meetings a month and participate in a couple of the major fundraisers. Not nearly as involved then as I am now, but give Rotary a chance to grow on people. Don't force it down their throat. Let them join and absorb it. But don't be so heavy-handed as to say you've got to do a project every week. People have their priorities, but we want to bring people in, engage them to the extent that their personal lives and professional lives allow them to be part of Rotary, and keep them engaged to the extent that they can handle it. Over time, they may have more personal time available as their families grow and as their business commitments reduce. So I'd just like to add that to your consideration.
I want to piggyback on Dave's thing. We have an active Rotarian that never makes the lunch meetings because he owns a restaurant. but he is very active on a lot of our projects. And since we're now digital, he has been watching some of the recordings in the evenings. So don't put a traditional membership requirement on it. As long as they're active as they can be, that's a big help.
I think Scott has his hand raised. Scott, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, thanks very much. First I want to say thanks to David. That was a terrific session. And I did want to get back to Norma's thoughts about DEI, because that's something that actually I'm offlining with a couple of other people here about next year, something that is going to be front and center for Rochester Rotary without a doubt. And one of the first things we're doing is just helping to describe what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. And I found that Rotary International's website did a really nice and clean and concise definition of each, which absolutely I'm going to adopt and show regularly at Tuesday meetings. So for whatever that's worth for people, I think they've really thought it through pretty well, and it's a nice resource.
There are also webinars at RI that you can attend, and it's like a series of webinars talking about what the current status of diversity is, or the feeling about equity is. And so it's really a great, so I highly encourage you to please go, if you haven't opened up an account with Rotary International, please do so, and then study, go into the website and just discover what you can find, because really the Learning Center has immensely improved from previous
and
years.
there's a wealth of information. It's incredible how much stuff there is on there. From Dave Irwin, we are trying to engage younger members in the reputational enhancement priority, especially with the increasingly important digital elements of social media, website maintenance, etc.
Dave, maybe you can talk more about that. Seems interesting.
Will they stop? Oh, Linda would like us not to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion at this moment because she has it on her agenda for a few minutes down the road. So just hold your thoughts on that.
I'll speak briefly on the digital elements of social media and website maintenance. I think the hardest part about this is getting over the fear of getting club members involved actively doing social media. Usually what will happen is one or two people with the club will be the head, and then we crave content. Just send me stuff, because I'm not a content producer. So I'm always yipping at my club members to get me content, and I will share it on Facebook. I will share it on our website and all that other stuff. So it's really easy to just send it off, but it's even easier if you train them and give them the authority to do it themselves. Look, I'm going to make you a co-administrator on Facebook. If you see something share worthy, just share it. If you find something cool. And so you got to encourage the members that even if they make a mistake, which they will, and they're allowed to, you can easily delete something if it's out there, and just train them without slapping them with the whip and say, look, we really not have that kind of a post right now, but please keep attempting to share. And that's the thing, is you need to encourage them to, anyone that wants to try and they're afraid of messing up, don't worry, you can't delete Facebook. You don't have that power, but you can post anything you want and that kind of stuff. So and then you get them involved in something of your club. So encourage them, try to draft somebody, and these mobile phone devices, everybody's got one. If they see pictures at projects, this is the biggest thing. Take pictures and post them yourself. People of action, they need action shots of what you're doing. Too many times Rotarians do all kinds of stuff and nobody takes a picture. Everyone's got a camera now. That's not an excuse anymore. All right, I'm off my box.
Bob Sloan's hand is raised. Bob, if you can unmute yourself, we have 1 more minute before we get to the next session. Bob, are you there?
I am. My hand is not raised, but yeah, I'm here.
I see a hand. Sorry.
Oh, quite all right. Just folding laundry.
Oh, it's Dave Irwin. Unmute yourself, Dave. Dave, unmute yourself.
I thought my space bar mutes the function wasn't working. I'm sorry for that. Tom, I may be putting on a spot here, but I remember probably 2 years ago at the district assembly, you had some wonderful presentations on this whole social media thing, among other things. I don't know if that recording is still available.
Actually,
or
I'm going to
anything.
redo that presentation as a webinar very soon, or presentation,
Okay.
and I'm going to re-record it. So yes,
Okay,
it's still available on our YouTube page, I believe, but a new one's coming soon.
That was very helpful. I would recommend it to anybody. I'm sure a lot of those points are still very relevant. Thank you.
If I can find it.
Hey, Tom, would you tell the group here what avenues of media, social media we have available as a district?
As
Like-
a district,
like the YouTube
the district has a Facebook page and a Facebook group. The district has a YouTube page, and the district has a Instagram page.
So you all can get on that and follow or like or whatever and become part of those groups that way you'll get to see those posts.
What is Rotary? Rotary is
Okay, it's 11:36, and may I welcome our District Governor nominee, Ralph Brandt, for club administration presentation.
Thank you. Let me just get this up on the screen. Hopefully that's available to everybody. Hi, I'm Ralph Brandt. I'm from the Bloomfield Club. I'm the District Governor nominee, and I'm going to talk about the exciting club administration. You've been wowed by PowerPoints and everything. We're not going to do PowerPoints on this. We're just going to go through, because a lot of this is going to be a little bit redundant from things that you've already heard, and I'm going to repeat things, but those things that are getting repeated are just so important. I see a lot of familiar faces today. I see new faces, and that's wonderful. All the information, and again, as you just heard from Dave and from Janet and from Norma, all the information and much more presented today is available at the Learning Center. And it's also taken from Lead Your Club, the President's Edition, 2019-2022. You know, as you go into your year of president, it's very important. You don't have to do it all yourself. I have two co-presenters today. I have the Secretary of the Bloomfield Rotary, Lori Newell, and the Treasurer of the Bloomfield Rotary, Kathy Conrad. And your Secretary and Treasurer are integral into your club administration and making your year successful. And they're going to get a chance to give you a lot of information that hopefully you can take back to your Secretary and Treasurer and work as a team. Again, you've heard, and I'm just gonna keep repeating it. Get a My Rotary account. It's very important. Urge all your members to get a My Rotary account. Enter your goals in Club Central. I know sometimes that might seem like, why am I doing this? Why do we need to do this? But it's very important as you start to talk about strategic planning and having goals. You need your goals out there. We need, from a district level, to be able to see your goals. Your AG needs to be able to see your goals so he can help you achieve them. Please, as Tom just mentioned, please keep your Facebook page and your website updated. There's nothing worse than having old information on there. If somebody's coming to look for where you're meeting, what time you're meeting, or are you meeting by Zoom, have that information out there. If you don't have a club bulletin, I really urge you to please consider doing it. It's a wonderful communication tool, both for your members, and you can send it to your AG, you can send it to anyone else in the district, and we all learn about what a fantastic job your club is doing. Take some time this year and review your bylaws. It's a perfect time as president-elect. Bylaws need to be looked at on a yearly basis, and I'm going to repeat this again in a little bit farther down, but it's very important that you keep your bylaws updated. And make plans for the district governor for their visit to your club. Please The district governor has such a daunting task ahead of them, and it's sometimes so hard to get clubs to schedule the visits and get coordinated. Please remind yourself, set time aside for the district governor. And communicate with your AG. AGs are out there, they're the liaison between the district and you, and they can be a tremendous resource as you work your way through. The district and the governor track team, we're here to support you, but we have to communicate. And just as David said, please enter any questions that you have into chat. Janet will pick those worthy to be talked about. I don't have to do that. So that makes it interesting. And I'm just going to go down. Dream, think, plan, and talk. Dave went through this, so I won't read this again, but it's so important what the vision of Rotary is in the future. Consider how your club can further this vision as you set goals for your year as president. You've heard Bruce talk about strategic planning. You've heard Dave talk about strategic planning. It's important, whether you do it with the help of the district through a great program that we have, or you take that task on at your club level and do it, but you need to have a vision of where you want to go as a club. It's setting your annual goals, and I just talked about entering your goals in Club Central. Your strategic plan will help you with that, and in Club Central, you don't have to enter the goals. You can lean on your secretary, your treasurer, your foundation chair, your membership chair, or if you have an executive secretary, Rochester Rotary, they can enter those goals into Club Central for you. Club board responsibilities. You know, as president, you're going to be responsible for running regular club board meetings. And the club board approves the budget. They review the monthly finances to make sure the budget includes realistic amounts for club operations and projects. And they also have to approve all expenditures not accounted for in the approved club budget. Review club policies and your club bylaws to make sure they are being implemented as intended, and revise them if they are no longer current. Rotary Club standards, and this is set out by RI. Your club has to pay per capita dues. You have to meet regularly as per the RI constitutional documents.
Who are you sending money to?
I'm not sending money to anybody. I'm sorry about that. Ensure its members subscribe to a Rotary World Magazine press publication. Implement service projects that address the needs of local communities in other countries, and accepts the visit of assistant governor, or any officer of Rotary International. Maintain liability insurance appropriate for the region. Again, all that information is on the RI website. Act in a manner consistent with the RI Constitution and the bylaws and Rotary Code of Policies. Pay RI membership and district dues without outside assistance. Keep membership lists current in Rotary's database by using My Rotary or one of the club management systems. Resolve club disputes amicably. Maintain cooperative relations with the district. Cooperate with RI by not initiating or maintaining litigation against Rotary or the Rotary Foundation, and follows the completes the election review process established by RI bylaws. The club constitution and bylaws. The standard Rotary Club Constitution provides the basic rules for all Rotary clubs. It's updated every 3 years to include changes enacted by the Council of Legislation. You know, have your board, and again, I know I'm repeating myself, but have your board review your club bylaws regularly and update them as needed. Your club members must vote on any proposed amendments to the bylaws, and be sure to notify members about the change. If you don't know about it, how to do that, you have to have a quorum. And again, this information is on the Learning Center. It's all there. And for an example, you have to have a quorum of one-third of your members, and you have to pass, you have to have greater than 2/3 of the quorum. So an example, a club with 63 members must have 21 members present. 14 or more members need to vote yes to amend the bylaws. Rotary's online tools, and again, you've heard it, I'm going to repeat it. Get a My Rotary account. Work closely with your secretary and treasurer to keep the information current. And you can use the My Rotary account to update personal information, view and edit Rotary Club's central goals and reports, manage your membership leads, update your club data, update membership data. It is a tremendous tool that you need to take advantage of. You can get reports on club membership, daily club balances, contribution and recognition, share and polio from the foundation, manage newsletter subscriptions, and search the official directory. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Lori Newell, the secretary of the Bloomfield Rotary Club, will talk a little bit more about the responsibilities for administering most day-to-day operations. Lori?
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. For incoming presidents, I would certainly encourage you to use your secretary to help you support your presidency. Many and most of the emails that come from the district or RI go to both the secretary and the president, especially about upcoming events and programs and things. And your secretary can be like your second brain to help you remember things that you might want to report to the club. As far as day-to-day operations, and of course there is a club secretary folder on the district website. You can take a look at that. You know, basically I do the minutes for the board meetings. In addition to that, our district secretary, Karen Parkhurst, is a really good resource to use also. Every club is required to submit to Rotary International changes to club member data. And you need to do that before the 1st of July and before the 1st of January in order to have your semi-annual bills be correct. You don't want to be, you want to make sure that everybody is listed, and if you have members that have left the club, you want to make sure that they have been removed before those dates so that the invoice is correct. New members need to be entered within 30 days of joining. Members can be added via the RI website or the district website, but I know from Karen, she has said that the district really prefers us using the district website to add new members. The other thing that usually falls to the club secretary, or at least working with the president, is to add onto both the district website and the RI website any new officers for the coming year. On the district website, there's a full kind of all of the officers listed, full list of officer positions. On the RI site, there are just a few. I think it's president, secretary, treasurer, foundation, and maybe membership, I'm not sure. Any information on your club members need to be updated for the directory by the 1st of February. So this is, you want to make sure that any of your email addresses are correct. It's a good idea to verify that once in a while and make sure that you have correct addresses on the district website. You know, changes do happen, and sometimes we get those addresses updated internally on our own club info, but perhaps forget to update it in our on the district website. And if your club uses Club Runner, you can download a spreadsheet to Excel of all your member contact information. The club invoice, Rotary sends an invoice to the club secretary, but but they also send it to the treasurer and to the president. So just between yourselves, make sure that that invoice gets changed. Or that invoice gets paid, I'm sorry. So, our treasurer is excellent. She's going to be speaking in just a minute. But I usually just touch base with her and make sure that, yes, it didn't get lost in the flurry of emails. And I think at this point, I think I've covered most of the things that I had.
Thank you, Lori. And at this time, we'll turn it over to financial management. And Kathy Conrad, our treasurer from Bloomfield, will take us through this.
Hi, everybody. As Lori said, and as Ralph said, the treasurer works very closely with the president and with the secretary. We all work together to make sure that everything gets done and that it's done in a timely way and a proper way. There are lots of options for how you can do your budget, but you should always have a budget every year, and it should be adopted by the board before your new fiscal year starts July 1st. I like to do everything on spreadsheets, but certainly that's not the only way that you have to do them. We have this year, now that we have some younger members, have opened up more options for payment to accept payments. We do them online now with, we have a Square for using credit cards for some of our different events. We also use Venmo and PayPal so that folks want to make donations for our various projects, they can. All that money goes directly into a charitable account, which is separate from our operations account, so that we can show always that any money donated is only used for charitable purposes and not to run the club itself. And we do also have separate accounts, obviously, for operations and for charitable. I think that's very important to do that. It's just shows good faith to the folks who donate to Rotary and trust Rotary to do the right thing. You do also have to every year file with the IRS and New York State. That's another important detail that you want to make sure that you do every year. Another thing you really need to do as treasurers, keep track of the dues and make sure and stay in touch with the secretary to let her know that all of your members are in good standing and that their dues are up to date. We allow options for paying dues. They can do it in a lump sum, or they can do monthly payments, quarterly payments. I'm always willing to work with anybody on how they want to make the payments to make it a little bit easier for some folks. For our accounts, we do have separate accounts. We do have more than one signature allowed on the accounts. It's my signature, of course, and also the president. And if you're fortunate enough to have a deputy treasurer, especially for a bigger club, sometimes that's nice to do too, and have a deputy treasurer who can help. When you do fundraising or you do raise money for a particular project, you should always try to keep those funds separate from your other charitable funds or your operating funds, so that you can show that any money donated to a specific project is dedicated to that project only and to nothing else. You want to make sure every year when you get your new officers that you update the signatures with the bank, so that those officers, the president and whoever, are allowed to sign checks. You can pay your dues online, so I do have a Rotary debit card, which makes it so much easier to just go online to pay, the dues those couple times a year. And that's all I have, unless there's questions.
We'll hit the questions at the end. Just remember that you have to file a tax return. They're required by law to submit an informational return to the Internal Revenue Service every year. So please remember that. And your treasurer, I know we have a CPA who's a member that assists Kathy in making sure that we file our returns promptly and correctly. one of the last things is, as a president and administering the club, is taking a look at risk management. You know, whether you're holding meetings, fundraisers, or working with youth, risk management responsibilities are part of your role. In this context, risk management refers to a proactive process that aims to identify causes of possible loss and determine how to lessen the financial impact of that loss. And then there's some other documents that you probably find very helpful as far as club administration. Fundraising manuals. If you do a fundraiser every year and it's the same fundraiser, there should be a manual there. And particularly if you have one or two people that always run that. Well, what happens if they leave the club or they're not able to do that fundraiser that year? You need a manual to tell you how to do it. So the next person stepping up doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all written down for them. Same with a new member process, from recruitment to induction, orientation, and mentoring. Very important. And that all falls under club administration. And again, you don't have to do it yourself. Delegate that, but make sure that these things get done. And finally, good luck on your year as president. Make it very memorable. And I know you'll have a good time. It's a fantastic opportunity. That's why so many of us do it more than once. Okay.
We have 9 minutes for questions. Someone pointed out that you can't change your email if it is your sign-on to Rotary International. So keep that in mind. I'm not sure exactly what you would do about that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to ask Karen Parker about that, because I think you can do it, but there's a process. Like, you first need to change your profile with your email address being changed, but I'm not sure, so I'm not going even to go there. But I think there's a process, and we will seek the district executive secretary for some guidance, and maybe we'll post that or send it to you guys when I find the answer. I took note of that.
I've got a question here. If an expenditure is already specified in the budget, does the club have to vote on it when the time comes to spend it?
No. Quick answer is no. If the budget has been approved by both the board and the club, then you do not have to bring it up for an additional vote when it's time to do the expenditure.
Unless it's over what is approved, then
yeah, but if it's within the budget, you're good.
Other questions? Because we have 7 minutes before we will call on. No, we have another 5-minute break. So why don't we tack on those 2 minutes in another stretch before we call on to our district governor-elect to present?
No, our district governor.
A governor.
I have to go back to work.
And that's going to start at 12. That's going to start at 12:10.
12:10, yes.
So you have 12 minutes almost. So take a break, grab a sandwich or something. It's lunchtime. So we'll see you back here at 12:10.
Given the topic of creating relevant club committees, and that was given to me because I've been attempting to do so in our district since I became district governor. And so this isn't something that that you can read about. I don't have something in writing that came from an RI website page. Everything we're doing right now is very organic. There are 2 committees in particular which I've been working on to get set up to help the clubs. So everything we do, understand, everything we do on the district level is to help you. It's not, the clubs are the most important part of our district, the clubs, so membership, keeping it engaged, keeping them vital and vibrant in their clubs. This is the most important thing. And everything that's been said prior to me coming on is just excellent information. And I guess the one that resonated the most with me personally, because it's what I've been talking as district governor, is what Dave Hannan had gone through, especially talking about membership and the need to engage our members. That my focus is membership, but in that, not as much about growing membership as engaging the members we have. Because in North America in particular, we lose more members than we gain. So you have to always keep that in your mind as presidents and president-elects, that we have this mission to keep our clubs relevant and engaged. So there were two things that came up this past few months in the Rotary world, which I jumped on, and a lot of other districts have as well. Not everybody, but the two things. One was what was being talked about earlier, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it wasn't my intent to stop the conversation. I just wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to further discuss it under my auspices, because diversity, equity, and inclusion is very important to Rotary International. And they've actually created a task force. And, you know, we have levels, districts, and clubs, and above district is zones. So zones, that zone director for our area, Valerie Wafer, was tagged to be the chair of the International Task Force for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. But they haven't met yet. They're still putting their task force together. So there's not a lot of guidelines for clubs and districts to go with right now. There are an abundance of webinars, and they keep on coming, and they're really interesting. And if you go to the RI website, you can see the list of YouTubes that have been available for these webinars. And there is in the Learning Center, there's information about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the statement that Rotary hangs its hat on. And what it hangs its hat on, I shall read to you. But this is what we are going to create a committee. We are creating a committee at the district level to work on it as well. But Rotary International, the quote is, as a global network that strives to build a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change, Rotary values diversity, celebrates the contributions of people of all backgrounds, regardless of their age, ethnicity, race, color, abilities, religion, socioeconomic status, culture, sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. I mean, that covers a lot of area. So there are clubs being created on DEI, and there are committees being created on DEI. And it was my thought that we would create a committee that would show that we embrace all this. You know, we do have it up on our website, but we don't have it in our policies and procedures. We don't have it as something that the clubs can refer to. So you all got a letter, and I asked for people to get together and meet to discuss it. And we did. We had almost 20 people on a call one night to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. And all these people were very interested in it or work on it in their other life beyond Rotary. But in the end, we started talking about the strategic planning committee and how the needs assessment, the health check, it's part of that you look around your community and see how you know who's missing, right? Because we want our clubs to reflect those we serve. Well, as we were thinking, we got to get a mission statement. So I've put together something, and we're going to tweak it a little more. But the mandate for a committee would be to contribute to implementation of diversity, equity, inclusion statement and the relevant goals of the strategic plan in 7120. To have the district and clubs grow and better reflect their communities we serve, and to be inclusive of all cultures, experiences, and identities. And to develop policies and best practices and make our district and clubs more welcoming, inclusive, and appreciative of all of each other. Provide opportunities to foster greater understanding, awareness of diversity, equity, and inclusion matters. Initiate activities to publicly celebrate, a district-wide of district members, including showing that we're open to all, and that the committee would work in consultation with district training, public image, membership to achieve its mandate. And then it would be part of the membership committee, but come back to our advisory council for discussion. It's very important to find a way to have a curriculum. It doesn't have to be really extensive, but one that the clubs can go to the district and say, yes, we are interested. We are interested in how to better serve the community, the community, and how to reflect who we are and who they are, come together, be more welcoming and so on like that. And a lot of it's pretty self-evident, but we have something, a little box, some information that's good for the clubs to look to. Then we can send out people from our strategic planning committee or the DEI committee, which would be working in concert to discuss the matter with the board of directors of the club, or just go straight to the club itself. And this is, it's important on, the social issues, of course, in who Rotary is, but it also has an opportunity to create more membership opportunities. Because if people see that the club is welcoming to all, they're more interested in being involved, and that comes into the public image part of everything, and what we do to better market our clubs and promote who we are. So that brings me to a different committee, and that's the Public Image Committee. The Public Image Committee, it was once active. When I first got on the in Rotary, I got involved in that because I've always been very involved in anything as marketing in the town of Penfield, where I live and work, or the organizations I get involved in. I think it's so important. So I was on back then when I was probably president the first or second time. And but then in the most recent years, it's really not been a committee. It's been our own Tom Brown doing everything. And it was like one of these things I said, we really need an image committee to work with Tom, because the Public Image Committee shall be something that the district offers to the clubs who want to have a little more involvement in how can we better promote and market our club, how can we better do our website, and Zoom. Now Zoom's taken over our world, so there are some clubs that still don't understand it and they need some help, and that'd be an opportunity. So anyway, we got about a dozen members, and we're going to kind of break them into what their expertise is. But it's so important to have your public image reflect the club and who you are, and advertise yourselves. You need a current Facebook page. That's one thing I've found in my travels as district governor. People are saying they don't know where the clubs meet anymore. And clubs are meeting, like, my club was on Zoom. Well, it started at Shadow Lake, and then it was on Zoom, and then we were in a pavilion outside, and now we're going to be in a church. It's like, how if somebody wanted to visit Penfield, so I said to my club, I said, please make sure the next time you post on Facebook, say where we're going to have our next meeting. And I challenge all of you to make sure your clubs are up to date, especially on the Facebook level. The websites are probably less vital. They should always be updated, but I think the Facebook is the one that's more fluid, and it's constantly moving, and it's easier to just update by a couple sentences where you're going to be. It's so important. And it's so if you're you're being more welcoming, you have projects to do, the people see that in your community, they reach out to you. And this is a time, I think, in many levels that we got a better opportunity to get people to come to our Zoom meetings or hybrid meetings, because they're able to just sign in versus having to take off time or from work and drive to the club if it's a lunch meeting or a breakfast meeting. And so there's an opportunity there that's been missing. But anyway, the Public Image Committee shall be helpful to this. And we met, and one of the members who does this sort of for a living, he said he'd put together an updated mission statement, and we're going to meet the next time to discuss that. We'll bring everything I just said into a overall emphasis. And it is my goal that we will have this committee listed on the website, that whenever a club would like a little extra help on things and would like a conversation or somebody coming to their club to talk about branding or whatever, that there would be some people available. So between the DEI that's really looking to show what your club is and help diversify it and bring people in, then we have the public image that will promote all that and more. There's one other committee that I've brought up, and that is the Environment Committee. Now, the environment has become the 7th area of focus. And so a lot of environmental matters have already been dealt with on global grants and district grants over the years. And, I think most clubs do an adopt a highway or, clean the parks. And there's a lot of different environmental initiatives throughout our district that you probably aren't aware of. Well, again, I reached out, I sent out an email, and we've had a couple of meetings now with people that are in our district who are very interested in promoting the environment. And how do we go about it? Well, again, we have to have a mission statement, and we have talked about it, and one of our members brought forth a good one. And we haven't adopted it yet, but we shall on some level. And it's pretty much that the Environmental Action Plan is an overall international Rotary environmental plan, is to support the environment, that the new area of focus is to support the environment and give Rotarians and Rotary actors more ways to bring about positive change in the world and increase our impact. So the mission statement is that the district will focus on 4 important areas: clean air, clean water, sustainability, environmental education. To execute this, the clubs within the district can collaborate to undertake projects that will have both immediate and long-range impact on the environment. Where possible, the district will coordinate themed projects in areas of concentration. In the areas of education, Environmental Action Committee will create a speakers bureau to assist local clubs in scheduling presentations on environmental issues. So, we got that going. And one initiative, which if I come to your club, you've heard me talk about, because this is something I think is kind of exciting to celebrate the environment being our area of focus. And it's something that the Environmental Committee will advertise more as time goes on, is this Great Lakes Initiative that my district governor classmates that all have land along the Great Lakes decided that we would have an Earth Day service project. So Earth Day is on a Thursday, so we would have it on Saturday so everybody could be involved. And this is April 24th. And that we would all go about doing some sort of cleanup amongst our waterways, that we would go along the beaches or what have you, to clean it up during this Earth Day, which a lot of clubs and a lot of organizations do anyway. But it would be along Lake Ontario, and we have this district that has probably more water than any of the other districts that are involved in this, because we have the Finger Lakes, and we got the Erie Canal, and we got the Genesee River watershed that takes you down, the southern tier. So everybody has an opportunity to participate. And what I'd like to see, and what we're going to promote, is that the different clubs, that they either collaborate together if you're in an area, or you get, if we can, have the Interact clubs participate or Rotaract clubs participate. And even if you have organizations that, maybe you're interested in, they might be potential members, get them involved, and they can see what we're doing to further the environment. And then we'll get I want everybody to take pictures and submit them, because we're talking about putting something together, the district governors along the lakefronts, into the Rotarian magazine to say, this is how we're, celebrating the latest area of focus. And this is so sustainable, for any other better word to use, is because there's so many things we can do and keep on doing. There is a fellowship in Rotary called SRAG. It's the Environmental Sustainability Fellowship.
No,
And
Linda, it's not a fellowship, it's an action group.
It's a fellowship. It's a fellowship. It's also an action group. you join but if you go on RI, I'm a member of it, and I have been. And one of the things they do, they have different breakout areas. We're in the Northeast area. They have newsletters and so on, where if you're a member, you can put your pictures of what you've been doing, and you discuss different things that are opportunities. And they already have a lot of information that we can harness. But we can also list a speakers bureau and an opportunity that people that are want to know more about a project, or they want to know what other clubs are doing, that we can put that up on our website and advertise. So that's a real feel good service project kind of initiative, because we can all get involved, and we can bring in a youth, and it's just a great opportunity. So that was the other committee that was formed. So we have 3 committees right now that are in their early stages of development. And like DGN Ralph Brandt always says, it's all organic. We're just starting, we're getting it going. And it is what it is. I mean, I wanted as my leadership role was to hear from the people who expressed interest, what their ideas were, kind of get it all together before saying, no, we got to do this or that. That's not the way I think we should do it. And RI really hasn't given us a lot of direction. So they are probably in the same boat we are right now. And what better to keep on moving and get it going to during this time of a pandemic is to organize things that when we are free to get out, we're going to have a lot of other things that we can work on. There's one other thing, and if anybody's interested in this, please let me know, because Rotary is very much about new model development for membership. That right now, you've all heard about satellite clubs and cause-based clubs and so on like that. That this is another opportunity to get new clubs to engage a different element of the community. So they ask every district to find a champion that would lead this, to look where we could do something different. And I know John Hall has discussed maybe a veterans group. There is one in Minneapolis that's been very popular that veterans come to, and they talk about veterans matters, and they work on projects dealing with vets. And you don't even have to be a vet. It's kind of like honor flight in my thought, because Ken and I participate in honor flight, and he's a vet, but I'm not, but I help. It'd be like that. That's an opportunity. We have a lot of veterans in our area. And there's different kind of cause base, and the environment's a cause base. There's so many opportunities out there. So we're looking for somebody to champion that, a new club development. And my thought was that the monies that were raised at the district golf tournament, it's one of those things the district governor can say where that money goes to. Dave Hannan used it for a literacy project. I'd like it to go to new club or committee development. And that has been done in other districts as well. So we could actually have a little seed money to create some of these things to help further where we're going. I'll tell you, all that being said, that's where we are in this. And if you have any questions or some ideas or something you think you'd like us to address, I'm more than willing to listen. We need to hear from the clubs. We are here to help you. And I will also say, we don't, you have to go through the board of directors for most of your decision making. That's one of those things you can't just say, presidents can't just make a direction and not have the support of their board. Otherwise, all sorts of havoc can be created in your club. So in our world of the governor's track, we don't have a board of directors, but we do have this governor team, which includes the immediate past district governor, Dave Hannan, me as district governor, Janet Tenreiro as district governor-elect, and Ralph Brandt as district governor nominee. So we meet once a month, and we communicate often. And they know I was interested in doing these initiatives, and they have stood by that to work with it to further further this for the benefit of all the clubs. So I just want you to know that and understand we are here for you. And if you think of other opportunities on a committee level or have a question about how to do this in your club, let me know. I know about Rochester Rotary because it was mentioned at their meeting last week that they were interested in DEI, and I reached out to their executive director and said, where are you in this? Because we'd love to work together. I think we don't have all the clubs having separate things that are, unless we want to know about it. We want to know, we don't want to have everybody just going off on their own. It'd be good to have kind of a central clearinghouse for it all. I mean, everybody's different. And as I say, I've gone to most clubs and no club is the same. Everybody has their own personality based on their community, based on their leadership. And we don't want to tell them what to do, but it'd be nice to have a central clearinghouse for these initiatives that people can better have an idea of where their club might go as a result, and somebody to talk to. So with that, I think I am done for right now. I think you all were bearing with my talk without any pictures. Any questions? You should check the chat bar, right?
There was a question about what the name of the fellowship contact point was. I responded, srag.org.
Yep. Yeah, that's an easy one.
Just posted something from Karen Parker's regarding the question on the email. She said that your original one is still your sign-in. The only way to get it changed for both is to contact RI personally and ask them to do it. So if you want your sign-in as well as your address, existing address, you have to call RI.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Linda. And we are not going to take any break. If everybody is in agreement, I will now ask our district governor-elect to proceed with her presentation.
All right, so being a vibrant club, your club leadership plan. So starting your club on a path to vibrancy, you want to engage your members, conduct meaningful projects, and try new ideas. List the new ideas your club wants to try, create a plan to increase community interest and attract more members. And as you develop your plan, use these tips and ideas and let your club evolve. Now, a lot of this stuff is going to be stuff we've already talked about today, but reiteration, I think it is very useful. So decide what you'd like your club to be in 3 to 5 years. Plan an annual visioning session. That's like your club health check. Identify your club's strengths and areas that need improvement. Use the strategic planning guide to set long-term goals. All these things that are highlighted in bold, they are documents and publications that are available at my Rotary. Decide on your annual goals and enter them into Rotary Club Central. Focus on something your club is good at and make it something your club is great at. Update your committees once a month on your goal progress. Holding club meetings that keep members engaged and informed. Conduct the member satisfaction survey to find out what your members like and don't like about your club. Create a plan for implementing changes. Vary your meeting format to include a mix of traditional and online meetings, service projects, social gatherings. I know that Rock City meets once a month at a bar. They have a blast. But on Saturdays, they meet and do service projects, and that's their meeting format. And they also have educational meetings too. Communicate openly in your clubs. Share your information at club meetings, on your website, through your social media. Check regularly to see how your members are feeling. Use the templates and resources in the Rotary Brand Center to create your club brochures and newsletters. Do make sure that you're using the appropriate Rotary symbol, which is right over here, the Rotary and the wheel. Make sure that everything is the way Rotary wants it to be, the proper brand. Prepare your members for future roles to smooth leadership transitions. Ensure continuity by making appointments for multiple years, having a current, incoming, and past chair on each committee. Conduct on-the-job training for your incoming club officers and have job descriptions for each officer. Again, adapt your club's bylaws to reflect the way club works. Involve your members when you review your club's bylaws every year, and edit the recommended Rotary Club bylaws template to reflect new practices and procedures. Like, for instance, if you wanted to have a satellite club, or if you want to have a corporate membership or a family membership, your bylaws have to reflect that. Develop strong relationships within your club. Find suggestions to introducing new members to Rotary. Sit with different people at each meeting. That was glanced on earlier. Make sure all your members are involved in activities that genuinely interest them. Conduct a member interest survey and use the results to plan your projects, your activities, and engaging meetings. Get new members involved early by learning their interests and giving them a role in the club. Coach new and continuing members in leading. Appoint a club training committee to oversee training for members. Use the Leadership in Action Guide on starting a program to develop members' leadership skills. Again, as Linda just pointed out, create practical committees for your clubs. Small clubs, consider how you can combine the work of committees. Large clubs, create additional committees to get all your members involved. And most importantly, have fun. Now, any questions about any of that? That particular slideshow is available as a document somewhere. It's called Create a Vibrant Club. And the picture of that, the first picture I showed was the first page of that. So I don't see any questions. So at this, are there questions?
No, you're good, Janet. I was just going to let you know that no questions.
Okay. So normally at this point, after this training, I would be scheduling fireside chats with you shortly. But I'm not going to do that right away. The International Assembly is going to be held virtually, and that's where all the incoming district governors meet around the world for training for a week. But we're going to have that the first week of February. That's when our year's theme will be introduced, and so I'm going to hold off until after February 11th when I know the new theme is for our year. And then you can expect to hear from me or your assistant governor mid-February to schedule our fireside chats. So I'm looking forward to meeting that. Let's see. Is there a standard member interest survey clubs use? Yes, it's part of the club health check, I think. So if you don't find it, let me know about the standard member interest survey. I'm sure that Bruce Amey can find it. Can Rotary own property? Looking to purchase and create a community center Rotary facility for events and meetings. That's probably a question for Chuck Turner. He's our legal representative, our legal consultant. So, anticipated frequency and purpose of the fireside chats. It's really it's one fireside chat per area of Rotary, and it will be, the purpose of it is to talk about the year, about your year, and about the theme and what we're expecting for your presidency. It's a very short evening, less than an hour probably, unless there are things people want to talk about.
Janet, Dave's got his hands up. He wants to.
Yeah,
Okay.
Janet, just comment that you cannot use district grant or global grant funds to purchase real property. So Rotary can't own property in that context, but I don't think there's a prohibition from of a club owning property.
I don't think so either. Elmira Rotary Club did own a house for a long time that they ended up selling and then using the proceeds to start the foundation. So I think the limitation is we can't use upper level money for it, but local raised money you can.
Or service project funds. If you say you raise funds for a certain project, you cannot use it for your property, I think. Yeah, so.
I always thought having a service club, like a combined Kiwanis, Lions, Rotary building would be a very useful thing to have.
Especially to hold events and meetings.
What'd you say, Norma?
Especially to hold meetings or events jointly or separately. Sure.
Yeah, Rochester Rotary owns the Sunshine Campus. It's 157 acres. And the insurance for the property would not be included in the RI program. You would have to pay insurance separately.
Janet, are you done?
I am done. So as far as I'm concerned, go out and enjoy the day.
Before we disperse, I would like to extend my greatest, sincerest gratitude to all our presenters, to our past district governors, the immediate past district governor, the incoming governors, the current governors, members of our strategic plan, and also to our host, Tom Brown, who is our district public image director and district website. My thanks to all of you, including the participants. Since this is our first virtual attempt for trainings, I would really like to get your input on two things. One, the logistics. How can we improve? If there's any other areas of improvement, and I'm sure there are because it's our first attempt. How can we make this virtual training more effective, more useful? Let us know. And the second point is the content of today's. We have great presenters and we have great contents. Those contents, I kind of have the outline, but then they embellished it, they improved it. And so please let us know if there are other topics that you think need to be discussed further, or there are other different topics that you want to be discussed further to enrich your preparation. Janet and I will be willing to set up again other virtual events, maybe for an hour during the day, during the evening, whatever. But we would love to have further discussions on topics that you feel could use more, perhaps an open conversation among you guys and share experiences. We will send you some of those questions, but I hope that you will respond to them, and so we can be more of assistance to you and usefulness to your term as club presidents. So I thank you all.
Barbara Bianchi from Rock City Rotary would like to take a screenshot of everybody. So smile.
Great.
Yeah, so it's a Rock City Rotary tradition. So at the end of a meeting, we take a screenshot. So if everybody wants to fix their hair, turn your camera on.
Wait a minute, I need to do my, no, just kidding.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with, so if everybody smiles, I'll give you a 3-second countdown. So page 1, 3, hang on. Ooh, I wanna make sure I got everybody. Okay, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, awesome. And I'm gonna grab screen 2 in just a second.
And we can't tell which screen we're on for you, so everybody
Yes,
has to
you gotta,
You gotta keep smiling.
gotta smile again for me. All right, page 2, 3, 2, and 1. And thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And
Barbara, are you gonna, can you share that with everyone who wants it?
I will. Yeah, I will post. I will tag the district Facebook page so that we have everybody's in it, and I'll try and tag folks as I see you in there in the different clubs as well.
Okay, wonderful. And thank you
Yeah.
all. Good luck with your year. I'm sure we'll still be seeing one another for succeeding events. We will have the March event, which will be virtual. I think Janet has, I don't know if Janet has informed you, but
yeah.
our multi-district pets will be virtual. And then our district training assembly will also be virtual.
What's the exact date for pets?
Pets is March
15th?
No, 19th.
Hang on.
18th and 19th, I think. Hang on a second.
All right, thank you.
Let me just double check that.
19th and 20th. Is it?
19th and 20th.